Good evening, everybody, and welcome back to the AEU Esports League. That's right, Australian University Esports League Dota 2 Season 2 2022 playoffs. That's right, we're already into the playoffs. It almost feels like the season just began, and yet, after, a fair hearty helping of great Dota, we now have to start eliminating teams. It's tough, it's hard work, but someone has to do it, and tonight, we may not be doing the work of eliminating teams, but we will be watching the teams do the work, and I'll be doing the work of helping you enjoy the experience. I am the Wandering Bard, and tonight we have UNSW Roar against AUE Black. Adelaide University represent. Two teams we've seen a lot of already this season, and AUE, I believe we watched this recently as last week, so obviously fresh in the minds of everyone. Andros, Fat Control and the boys, but UNSW Roar, they are no slouches either, so hopefully a really exciting BO3 coming up tonight, maybe even 3 games. Obviously now that we're in the playoffs, we do need that decider. No more BO2s to be had here. And the action should be coming up very shortly. The teams are just sort of sorting themselves out now. So as we get started, might get the sponsor reads out of the way. Of course, it's very important that we do that as soon as possible in these situations. But first of all, we'd love to thank Predator Gaming. They are the gaming PC partners of the AUE. They are the gaming PC partner I was trying to figure out how many seasons off the top of my head, but at least 4 or 5 seasons, as long as I can remember, certainly, and they will be helping you recently discover your next favorite game with over 100 high-quality games available on the new Acer and Predator Gaming Windows 11 PC they're offering, and of course, when you get that, you also pick up 1 month of Xbox Game Pass Ultimate. More and more people getting on that. It's just a great way to get access to a lot of games, so with new games added all the time, there's always something new to play, and of course, besides them, we have AOC. They have the best viewing experience available on the market. As a global leader in monitor display technology for more than 50 years, AOC has delivered an exceptional viewing experience to millions of loyal customers worldwide. Today, the company offers a wide selection of stylish monitors for home, office, or gaming use. And as we get into the draft, of course, we'd like to thank Rig. They provide what it takes to win. They develop headsets and deliver superior audio for gamers and streamers at all levels: competitive, casual, I guess relaxed, semi-business, formal, whatever your style is. Join the Rig team today and enhance your gaming experience. As of course we enter into the draft, very important that we make sure those sponsors are thanked, and we'll be thanking them again throughout this broadcast because it's the playoffs, right? It's almost like Dota Christmas. It's time to be extra thankful, especially with TI coming up, right? It's got us in the festive spirit, but of course, some heroes shan't be allowed to come to the party, and today that is Omni Knight and Undying. Bit of a theme going on, obviously. We have been in the grips of a bit of a healing and saving meta now for the last couple of patches, it feels like. The exact heroes, of course, which have been favored, have shifted and turned with the tides and the fortunes of Dota captains, but, it's been the same general theme, and obviously something that goes great with saves and heals is diving, kill-focused strength heroes, or just tanky heroes generally. That's why Marcy hits the ban list, and Tiny as well. They get in, they explode a target hero before that team supports can get their heals and saves in order to protect them, and then they're often tanky enough to survive long enough for your team to bail them out. So it really kind of goes hand in glove with the same sort of supports we've been seeing picked and banned a lot, and as such, those heroes first on the chopping block. It's a very important draft, and these teams, you wouldn't be surprised to see them playing it by the book. UNSW Roar, they pick up the first phase Earthshaker. I think we've seen this one from them before. Can't remember if it worked out perfectly or not, but obviously it's a great hero for high stakes games, right? If you are a 3 or 4 or a 5 player and you want to make some big game-turning plays, there's not that many heroes better than Earthshaker. Maybe Enigma comes to mind, but it's one of those classic big ultimate heroes. And another big ultimate hero, albeit one more often played out of the mid lane or even safe lane roles sometimes, Death Prophet, picked up by AUE Black. So, we'll be seeing plenty of Crobolus tonight, I imagine. It's great for setting the pace yourself, right? You want to be on the front foot in a game like this. You want your opponent to be reacting to you. It's a hero that's quite flexible in the laning phase and also quite well-rounded in its laning matchups. So, great safe pick. And they grab the Dazzle. Now, UNSW, they grab the Night Stalker. It's very often a combo we've seen played together. It's hard to say when they're apart which one has the edge on the other, isn't it? Because Night Stalker, obviously, especially if he buys a Blink Dagger, is a great hero for shutting down the Dazzle, just kind of literally silencing his impact in team fights. But simultaneously, Night Stalker's kind of a single target hero that has to lock onto a unit and chase them through the air, auto-attacking them over and over and trying to bring them down. He doesn't really burst heroes quite like something like a Tiny would. So, Dazzle, if he's not the initial target, if he can remain out of sight of that Night Stalker's considerable vision advantage, he can make it very difficult for Night Stalker to make effective use of his time in a fight. UNSW Roar, they go down the list now. They're going to target some safe laners, seeing that there's a Death Prophet already picked up, arguably their mid laner, or quite likely the mid laner. They grab the Ursa and the Faceless Void for the ban list, and Adelaide Uni, they tack on Ancient Apparition. Alright, the Ice Cream Cone gets banned, and of course the Waterworks Morphling also banned out. Yeah, an interesting couple of bans there. Faceless Void and Ursa, they make more sense to me. Obviously, great heroes on the current patch. Faceless Void, pretty inarguably, I'd say, the top carry of, the current meta. But Ursa, no slouch either, and certainly strong in difficult lanes against melee heroes like Night Stalker. So protecting that Night Stalker's lane, trying to make sure he gets off to a great start, as you really want to do with a hero like that. You want him to be the strong hero on your team, dictating the pace, often to make room for a greedier mid laner, or in this case, maybe a greedier 4 position like the Earthshaker to pick up some of that space on the map and get some key items going. Then you can kind of push forward as a team behind the big burly Night Stalker, hopefully with a BKB and or a Blink. And that's kind of how their game plan is looking to evolve, even before we see the rest of the heroes for it. It just shows you how important and how weighty the presence of a Night Stalker is on the Dota 2 map. But it's not the only hero that commands that kind of strategy warping influence. Tusk is another one. Great ganking potential immediately added to the team. And so the Tusk Dazzle Night Stalker sort of triumvirate, I'd love to see what their win rate was in the AEL Uni League with, when you have all three of these heroes on a lineup. I feel like we've seen that a lot, and it's been winning a lot. But to pick it up, just Dazzle and Tusk, that's still a decent combination. The question, though, is where the Tusk will be played. Obviously, this is typically your 4 and your 5. Could just be that. But in that case, the Tusk probably wants another ganking partner. You probably want one more aggressive core, the way the Night Stalker would normally be fitted into your draft. If not, though, it is another great potential save for Death Prophet. Kind of has that dual role, especially once you get a Blink, where you can use the Snowball as a very powerful defensive tool, akin to the Shallow Grave. Makes me wonder, what the Tusk will be paired with in the offlane. Maybe it is the Death Prophet, Death Prophet offlane, not out of the realm of possibility anymore, but it could be also something like a Beastmaster. We've certainly seen, some Australian players really love that hero, and it's a hero that is quite popular right now with the players who have mastered it. We've also got Brewmaster that's sort of available as that kind of option to kind of fulfill the same jump-in role as the Night Stalker does, and obviously make it safe with the Brewling split right after. But it all depends both what they're interested in playing and also what UNSW kind of leave to them in terms of laning matchups, right? Like UNSW right now, not much is known about their lanes other than probably they have Night Stalker, Earthshaker as their off lane. But, that doesn't really help Adelaide Uni pick their own 3 that much. And UNSW, they're of course looking to contain the range of 1 position picks. So they ban out Spectre. Adelaide Uni, same wavelength, they ban out the Slark. And now UNSW, they pick up the Wyvern. Nice choice. Could be their 5 position. Could be a core. We've certainly seen a couple of core Wyvern games, and that is, the kind of hero that you can, we'll say, back up with a Night Stalker, right? It doesn't necessarily do everything you need your mid to do usually, but a lot of teams are relying on a mid like a Quap or a Puck or a Void Spirit to be the one diving in and initiating attempts for kills, whereas, with a Night Stalker, some of that pressure is lifted and the range of viable mid lane picks opens up to you. They also grabbed the Leshrac. That's more likely to be their mid laner now that we see it, so now just lacking a carry, but a pretty decent team from UNSW Roar. Their only real lack is in terms of team fight control, it would seem. They have the tower push between the Leshrac and even the Winter Wyvern a little bit. They definitely have the team fight damage. They maybe just lack a little bit of initiation and team-wide control, but a couple of Blink Daggers on heroes like Wyvern and Earthshaker can fix that up as well. So now they just need an appropriate carry, but they can focus mostly on matchups for that because they have managed to find themselves a well-rounded draft. Meanwhile, on the Adelaide Uni side, they grabbed the Silencer, which is an interesting pick. One of these heroes is going to have to be a core at the very least, other than Death Prophet, obviously, which are kind of just earmarked as a core already. And I think I'd rather see a core Silencer than a core Tusk, but it's not up to me. Maybe even be a core Dazzle. It all depends on what they think the matchup favors, but maybe a safe lane silencer is their way of fighting back against a Night Stalker, or maybe they think a mid lane silencer is favorable against Leshrac, since it sort of appears that Leshrac is the mid of choice for UNSW, unless they do something sneaky on the back end. We've already seen some teams really enjoy, flipping around the script you'd expect in terms of hero positions, and I think it's UTS Feet who've been, some of the most eager for that, but we'll see if UNSW are sort of feeling that energy, that chaotic energy today as well, whether they maybe safe lane this Leshrac or safe lane this Wyvern, mid lane this Earthshaker. It's all going to come down to this last pick. We see Shadow Fiend, PL, and Clinks join the remaining 1 position on the ban list. So really, not that many 1 positions left in the pool. I mean, you can go in for a Wraith King maybe, or a Juggernaut, or okay, 1 position Nature's Prophet. That's certainly a way to get aggressive, and that kind of helps out, right? I mentioned they may not have a ton of teamfight control or initiation, but if you have this much of a mobility advantage and you have good ways to push towers with Leshrac and NP, then you kind of negate the need for massive team 5v5 teamfight power, because you can always just force smaller engagements and be in and out and have taken your kills before the enemy really get to react. You're not as much setting up for a pitched battle. Adelaide Uni, though, what have they got to stop this, right? They've kind of got some decent counter initiation, but they'll need to really play on their toes or move coordinatedly as a group. And they grab Pudge. Okay, carry Pudge again, being a real treat to see all throughout this last patch or two. Pudge in the carry role, and this is a great game for it as well, right? You don't need to out carry too formidable a scaling lineup. We're assuming it's going to be something like a carry Prophet, and all you have to do is scale up. Although it's Fat Control on the Pudge. I recall, I think, Fat Control being the offlaner, so we'll see what this actually turns out to be. But yeah, in all cases, Core Pudge looks like it has some decent matchups here. Not that many ways to interrupt the Pudge, especially once it gets a BKB. Pretty much just the Wyvern ultimate, and does a great job of neutralizing basically any hero 1v1, especially more stationary carries, which, things like Leshrac, Night Stalker, Nature's Prophet, they either need to commit to being right in the middle of the fight where Pudge can reach them, or the Nature's Prophet, once he TPs in, kind of just stands and delivers. Easy prey for the big meaty boys. So those are the 2 lineups we've got, everyone. Looks like a great match, and yeah, I'm obviously hoping to see these teams play this out and then go to maybe 2 more games, but game 1 always essential for setting up the meta of this best of 3, right? In a longer series, the first game, sometimes teams use it just to try a strat out, so maybe that's what we're seeing out of UNSW, and then, maybe if it doesn't work out, you say, well, we had that one in hand, and you bounce back with something completely different. But regardless, any strats that these teams have been saving, any special ideas they've had since the last little patch dropped, there was sort of a mini patch yesterday, which might have even changed things up for these teams, but I'm assuming they're well prepared. This is the time to bust out those strats. There's no more real time left to either practice or conceal. Now you must put up. And we have the traditional Oz Dota minute 0 pause. So we can quickly get a look here. Running down the lines. For AUE Black, we've got Fat Control on the Pudge. We've got Andros on the silencer. Looks like maybe the mid silencer for Andros, and it does indeed seem to be the carry Pudge for Fat Control, which means it's the off lane Death Prophet for G, for God. And we've got Psycho rocking the Tusk. And meanwhile, on the other side of things for UNSW Roar, we've got Shizia on the Leshrac. We've got Hero on the Night Stalker, fighting back against allegations, I think made by his own self, that he may be washed. We shall see. 554 on the Winter Wyvern, Hefferfalump on the Earthshaker, and lingering somewhere in the background, Shabusi Grapes, bringing madness to the Dota battlefield as that tomato-themed Nature's Prophet. God, that's the dumbest cosmetic. Okay, Hero on the Night Stalker, unfortunately, may actually be washed. Gets caught by Fat Control's hook walking up the hill, but as so many great 3 positions are, bailed out by the support. Hefferfalump throws down that Fisher. Does cost a hefty chunk of mana. And we will see Hero walking back to base, so maybe that'll have some small impact on the early laning phase, but I doubt it. You see a nice aggressive ward being placed down by Hefferfalump. Crucial stuff for the Earthshaker, right? A hero that has so few spells to throw around in the laning phase and is sort of very lacking in laning presence otherwise, really does need there to be, you know, a sense of where the opposing 5 position is so that you know when you can go to make a play and when you need to stop some pulls, maybe when you can get pulls off yourself. Unfortunately, that hard camp already blocked up by the Radiant with their own ward. Some vision games going on in the mid lane as well. The Nature's Prophet putting his trees to good use, so already Shibusi Grapes making sure that hero's unique presence is felt on the map. There's a Blightstone here and ready to lane it up with those trees and sending them straight after the Death Prophet. So Prophet on Prophet battle. Who shall profit more greatly? I'm not sure, but normally you'd favor DP, Crobolus, Death Prophet in these situations. That being said, most heroes don't have as great a laning tool as those treants that maybe not able to, maybe you won't be able to get close enough to actually utilize the Soul Siphon that's so useful to her in the laning phase. If you're taking such a large amount of physical damage from the Blightstone and the treants as the Nature's Prophet kind of kites you around on his main hero. It's all going to be down to Shibusi Grapes' micro, but right now, it seems up to the task. Look how much health is already missing on G, and there's really not much Psycho can do about it. Hasn't actually invested a skill point yet, but what, you can't really afford to snowball yourself or the DP in, because it's just these cheap expendable summons chipping away at you, and sending a hero into the middle of the creep wave is kind of the opposite of you know, what you want in those spots. So it seems like this last pick, Nature's Prophet, has really thrown out the plans of this you know, offlane DP. So it seems like a really nice counter pick so far. They kind of read that this would probably be the offlaner, especially after the Silencer was picked up. And they've counterpicked it quite appropriately, even with a somewhat weak support in this Winter Wyvern, right? You'd be afraid normally of getting all in on by Psycho with the Tusk plus G, but right now they're being held off. We'll see once Tusk has a couple of levels, right? If you can combine the Snowball and the Ice Shards and even the tag team, maybe things will be different. For now, though, laning phase continues. It's kind of a wash for both teams right now in terms of CS. No one's really going for any pulls. Almost every camp is blocked near the 2 safe lanes. Down the bottom lane, though, VS1 might die here, might go down. It will be first blood. Hefferfalump catches him slipping in and out of those trees. I'm not sure whether the obs from the Dire made the difference there or not, but certainly the lack of an obs from the Radiant did. Found a beautiful Fissure block by the looks of it. Just kind of trapped the Dazzle. Trying to push the advantage, one would assume, right? You kind of feel the pressure as the Dazzle to go for those plays with Poison Touch, especially if you think the Earthshaker might be out of the lane pulling. But we might see the opposite go down on the top lane. G baiting them in. Psycho following up for the punish, but Shibusi Grapes had some healing. I think it was a Fairy Fire. He's able to stick in there. 554 though. Drifts too close. G has the 1 point in Crypt Swarm. It does a surprising amount of damage. Actually, 75. Probably about standard for a nuke, but the I think that got nerfed at some point. But still enough to get the job done against the surprisingly squishy Winter Wyvern. Not a very powerful laning support with those long cooldowns on those spells, and you know, I didn't think that was going to punish them since the Nature's Prophet had been so dominant, but they go for a kill there, and they kind of get baited successfully by G. Obviously, Shibusi Grapes able to fade in and out of the lane as they please, thanks to that global teleport, but still, the loss of lane dominance will be felt. Not immediately, but maybe Death Prophet will get a couple more creeps, or, you know, the extra XP on the support will lead to kills elsewhere. For now, though, things continue. Both safe laners free farming, both mids contesting each other roughly evenly. Slight advantage to the Radiant, pretty much in all 3 lanes, but or rather, I should say, in all 3 roles, right? Like the Death Prophet is losing her lane, actually now about the same as the Night Stalker. Certainly not disastrously, and we're gonna have to see then when the lanes are even, which team can disrupt this equilibrium first and in their favor, right? You look to heroes like the Tusk, who can maybe start to rotate as we see pings going out. That looks like it's already going to happen. The 4-minute rune, definitely worth contesting. And it looks like Leshrac will be denied the opportunity to fill a bottle there. Andros getting hit 1 rune bottled, while the Tusk looks to cover the other. But Hefferfalump maybe doesn't need to rotate. Okay, I was about to say, maybe doesn't need to rotate to get a kill. But what if you end up getting killed instead? The Fissure is actually Fat Control. Oh dear, miscalculates there, gets fissured and is able to back off far enough to avoid being killed, but then kind of just hooks the Earthshaker back in, and I mean, it's a similar situation to what we saw on top, kind of baiting yourself a little bit with the idea you might get a kill, and so even though Hero and Hefferfalump weren't able to really get a convincing Fissure trap off there, the miscalculation, calculated risk taken by Fat Control ends in only his own demise. A little bit awkward there for your Dazzle, who does not have Shallow Grave skill just yet. This time the hook goes awry. Hero able to sidestep that one. And, I mean, Pudge is still, you know, doing handily in this lane. That first death is a bit of a freebie. You respawn so fast and just TP back in. G on top lane, struggling. Psycho dipped out of the lane for a second, maybe to try and get a ward up or snipe a courier or who knows what. But, yeah, G is reduced to siphoning treants for health. And now out of charges and low on resources, has to drop back a little bit. Desperately needs those phase boots up because, you know, even the body blocks can come into play in a situation like that. Able to at least get the creep equilibrium back to somewhere near his tower, which is a pretty nice effort, kind of dragging your own creep wave there as the offlaner. Meanwhile, in the mid lane, continues to go pretty even. Andros, you know, very experienced player, able to bully some laners in mid, but not easier on the left track. It's going pretty fine for both sides there. Beautiful Fissure hits both Radiant heroes right as Fat Control turns on the Rot, which means obviously a little bit of extra damage and suddenly a bad situation. Hefferfalump blocking the hook. Not sure whether that was meant to be defensive or not. Hero chancing it there, but had the little bit of burst healing from the one charges to survive. And wow, Dazzle just laying into them. Doesn't even have the poison touch running, just chucking out the Dazzle auto attacks. Fat Control is going to look to loop around to the secret shop to pick up probably a Ring of Health, one would assume, for either a Vanguard or a Hood. G once again being aggressed on. They detect that the Tusk is out of the lane. This time they are more than right. Tusk was all the way back, maybe up trying to buy something from the secret shop himself, or more accurately trying to stack the neutrals. That didn't even seem to happen. I'm not sure what the play was there, but Psycho dips out of lane for a second, and G goes down, caught without any sort of way to cut the trees. Has remedied that now with the pickup of a Quelling Blade, but it's already cost you your life. Sprout, one of the more annoying skills in Dota 2, and so I figured that the Radiant might have had the edge in terms of early rotations, but no such rotations have been made. The lanes have just been slightly dire favored enough that everyone's been pinned to the lane so far. In fact, Control might be going down again here, caught way up near the tower, and there's a teleport in from Shibusi Grapes of all people, but the Shallow Grave this time has been skilled, and it will buy enough time for the first kill to go in the Radiant's favor. Now Hero overextends as Psycho. Takes him a bit longer to teleport to the lane than Shibusi, but arrive he does. There's one slipping out of the way of that Nature's, only with the Blightstone and the Treads, not the massive damage output you might expect. Okay, VS1, that was a little bit greedy, buddy. He was away and clear, but for whether out of a sense of pessimism that he was going to die regardless, maybe a misguided attempt to save his Tusk, threw the auto attack back the other way, and I mean, that just automatically reveals you, so I don't know if the intent was to maybe duck out of range again, but Shibusi Grapes easily takes a couple of steps forward and hurls that auto attack. Not enough room in the trees there for the Dazzle to get away clean, and so it does end up being a double kill to the Natures anyway, pays him off for that rotation. G getting a little bit of space in this top lane as the DP, but I'm sure that the Dire are overall fine with that. UNSW Roar definitely getting aggressive here as they want to be, but Fat Control, you know, did get a Flesh Heap stack out of that, did get a kill, has finished up the Hood of Defiance now, and is looking for another kill on Hero. You can see, trying to weave in and out of the trees, calculating whether or not there's a good line on a hook, but it's hard when you're a laning Pudge. They're expecting you at all times to be throwing that out, and even if there isn't ward vision there, which they don't know one way or the other, it can be very tricky. So Fat Control, she's just going to try and establish himself with the Rot, but as before, this is the prelude to some... Oh no, he's missed the hook, and Shibusi Grapes is here again already. Fat Control, there's no TP scroll, there's no way out during this Shallow Grave. This one might have been better off saving it for himself. He's going to go down now as well. Looks like no TP on him either. And, yeah, this pressure, but 4 Radiant Heroes in the bottom lane suddenly, or at least to replace the dying Pudge, there are now 3. Andros arriving thanks to a haze stream, conveniently bottled up. Maybe something your mid should have pinged out for you, but they're going to effect a retreat anyway. They only lose heroes, so core for core, but everyone dragged to the bottom lane. Andros, though, also getting some permanent stacks, right? Both Pudge and Silencer on the same team. You can't really call it a strategy, but they do benefit from this constant scrapping, which the Dire team want to enforce. I wouldn't say they necessarily come out ahead in it, but at least there's a little consolation prize in it for them. A little bit of extra strength or intelligence for the road. Pudge is now fully deserted the bottom lane. That just leaves VS1 to be the natural sacrificial lamb, although Shallow Grave, again, buys enough time that the first kill is going to go the way of the Radiant. They must be pulling ahead in the XP over time with this, and Andros already ahead in the XP from the sheer dint of being the mid laner, is able to survive long enough for the Tusk to get here. This Snowball just catches Hero. Might have gone bad for them otherwise. Andros able to walk back. He does have the Global Silence. Might need to use it here. Doesn't use it to stop the TP from Shibusi Grapes, though, so he will go down. Hero pops the Dark Ascension to get vision of him in the trees and mops up that Silencer very quickly before anything funny can happen. Psycho beautifully body blocked by Mr. Grapes with those grape-like treants. Truly, these are the spawn of madness. You need only look in their eyes to know. Yikes. But yeah, Mr. Grapes raining down the pain right now. Only 47 CS, a little bit behind the Pudge, but if you look at the scoreboard, 5 kills on the Night Stalker, 4 kills on the Nature's Prophet. This is the kind of early game dominance you expect to see out of a Night Stalker lineup or an NP lineup, let alone a team that sports both, right? And we've seen some teams kind of fail to get these heroes online. It's good to see them firing on all cylinders. Psycho, though, just fires away himself, has absolutely no fear whatsoever. VES1 arrives just in time to throw out the grave, but that's just bailing your 4 position out. What about your Andros? Well, he just has to stand and fight. He's able to bring down 1 core, able to bring down 2. The Winter's Curse. I mean, it is going to get the kill on the Dazzle. VES1 goes down, but almost surprised that wasn't onto Andros. I suppose just maybe wasn't in range and decided to not be too greedy, but man, that silencer dropped pretty low. Now he can continue chasing down. He's going to get more kills. He's going to get more intelligence out of that. Andros, his brain going larger by the minute. No one said this man was short of few grey cells in the first place. She won't be stealing any stats, but will be stealing the hearts of the spectators. He dives deep for another exciting double. The DP getting active. Fat Control is eating a creep. He wants to get in on the action as well, but he is now out of mana and hit points. Dangerous time to walk near the fight, but he wants to bail out his 4 position, I guess. He just kind of feeds himself away. But will it buy time for Andros? I mean, there's no tower here to protect them anymore. Andros waiting maybe on the Tumbler's toy cooldown. Has to try and skirt away. Oh, it'll be disrupted. Hero gets Walrus punched. This is like a team of people all hobbling away on one leg, all trying to sacrifice each other for each other. They can't decide who should die first. They might all die together. VS1 gets snowballed into a Leshrac stun. To be fair, they didn't know Shizuya was there. And now Andros, after all of this pain has been gone to... wow! He walks out of the sun from Heffalump. He turns! Okay, I think he kind of knew that he was about to get lightning striked by Shizuya. He might have gone down to that anyway. Fat Control's able to turn up. He's gonna mop up. This is absolute chaos on the Dota map. Fat Control can't figure out where the heroes are to hook. He just kind of airballs one there. Absolute bloodbath for both sides. The real beneficiaries of this are, of course, those stat-stealing heroes. Silencer up to 12 stolen int already. Pudge only with 2 Flesh Heap stacks somehow. Seems to be the one caught up in the initial engagement every time, and maybe just a shorter acquisition range on that one, I think, compared to the old stolen int, which triggers from, you know, basically anywhere on the screen. And somehow, 554 I looked away, I thought things were dead. Somehow, 554 on the Winter Wyvern has managed to get all the way up to the top lane, dragging 4 out of 5 Radiant heroes with him. Meanwhile, the last Radiant hero, G, is in the mid lane, not playing it cool while his team gets there, but activating Exorcism and running down the enemy mid laner. Shizuya, there's no way to control this DP, no way to stun her. He just has to fire off the Split Earth, but it's a hopeless endeavor. The team arrives too late. That's a bit of a misplay there. I'm not sure who by, right? But, like, someone had to have a TP scroll there, or the Leshrac maybe needed a beat of faster retreat, but just did not respect the power of Exorcism and G. I mean, it does deflect the ghosts from hitting the tower. That is the full Exorcism consumed, but that's your mid laner going down. That's the highest CS hero on the map, and we'll just quickly check the net worth. Yeah, the second highest net worth hero on the map until, you know, about that second. So, huge scalp to be taken, and I'm sure your offlane DP is more than happy with that. But perhaps this is the time where the pace needs to inevitably slow for the Dire. I mean, they've gotten definitely some blood on their hands. They've definitely achieved something in this early game, but it's been, you know, probably closer trades than they would have liked, right? 14 to 13 kill score, 1k net worth lead to the side of AUE, and UNSW, for how well this lane went for Hero on the Night Stalker, and for how well, you know, Shibusi Grapes on the Natures was kind of able to be present in 2 lanes at once, basically unpunished. You know, one would think that they'd be further ahead. I'm sure they hope to be, right? They even kept their Leshrac in mid-farming for most of this time, and yet somehow Andros is actually superior on the net worth. Only a little, but now they need to go back, wait, get a few more items. Leshrac's going to have this Sanjin Kaya. Most importantly, you want Heffalump to have that Blink Dagger. No such Blink coming up on 554, but someone's going to make the sacrifice for the team. VES1 looking for the Shard on Dazzle for a bit more control. The team definitely in need of that. And Hero is going for a Midas. I don't mind it, right? Your team has sort of said to you, look, we need to slow down our pace. We actually can't get embroiled. It seems like the enemy are prepared to just fight forever, but we need some core items. So the Night Stalker, being this far ahead, says, alright, Midas Gaming it is. You guys clearly need me to be a carry. I guess I'll carry. But if you're the carry, you have to expect some attention. And oh, the initial eye shot from Psycho is a little bit short. Click that one too near on the map. But the overwhelming weight of bodies being directed at Hero, plus the power of Snowball, will lead to a kill. Not quite enough TPs in time. Maybe they thought he was going to get out after that initial Ice Shards miss, but the teleport just arrives a little too slow to punish the dive. So worst of all worlds, TP cooldown burned. Night Stalker killed for no loss. Fat Control farming the mid lane. And there's like deep dire vision here from back when they took the tower, but this has been firmly re-established as an area of Radiant control. The Dire, you know, I'm sure they'd love to be, if they had to be farming in this situation, they'd love to be farming 3/4 of the map, right? You imagine that they draw the line. I can't draw a line on the map like this, but you imagine that they also try to claim these camps since they took this tower. But the early and frequent attention from Andros to this bottom lane, as well as the Tusk, has made it very difficult for them. And the fact that they were able to just swoop in and pick off the Night Stalker there has really kept the Dire pinned to their own side of the map so far. Another way in which they've failed to fully realize maybe the early game advantage that they were hoping their draft would provide. Shibusi Grapes farming it up. Top net worth on the map, as you would expect for a Nature's Prophet, especially in a game where the opposing carry is a Pudge. Fat Control going for that farming item he needs, which is an Aghanims, and now you can see the Dire, they're making a play to retake this area of the map. Fat Control is pinned down, caught by effectively a 4-man gank as Shibushi Grapes arrives. As soon as the target is confirmed in sight, the Eagle lands. And now needs only one more component for that early BKB. And I do like the first item BKB, right? Even though there is a Pudge in the game, there's also, you know, a Walrus Punch, there's an Exorcism, there's a host of things that you know, do need to respect even with the BKB. It's a lot harder for you if you don't have the BKB. There's a lot more stuff to be afraid of. Winter Wyvern getting a host of spells out to protect her. Even Shibusi Grapes teleporting surprisingly far forward, but with Pudge still dead, it's easier to fire that spell off, not as much to fear. And 554 definitely hasn't learned the lesson, trying to get a deep ward out there. Man, if there was any Radiant Vision out there, this would be 100% a killed Winter Wyvern, which would be pretty bad when the Radiant are trying to push up on you. But there isn't an Exorcism for a while, so I'm not sure. They might just be sort of leaning on the sheer improbability of a team fight right now to catch the Dire unawares. But there's not necessarily a lot for AUE to get done here. They're able to dig up a neutral item off the Kobold from the shovel. Rare instance of neutral item value. Neutralception even. And now we've got the classic ships in the night scenario. Shizia and co, they have figured that the Dire would fall back to their AUE would fall back to their own triangle. But having failed to smoke gank any of AUE Black's heroes, they will smoke gank their mid tier 1 tower, which is always where you expect it to be and has a much harder time running away. But now the heroes they sought arrive. The Dire, the Radiant, they do lose their tier 1. The Dire take it. And the Ice Shards doesn't catch anyone. There's no one sticking around any longer than they need to. UNSW, they knew that there would be some sort of attempt at a team fight once their team had revealed themselves. And they did get this nice ward up to watch the Triangle and the Roche Pit alike. So maybe from the positioning of the Shizia, there would be a guess, an educated guess as to where the rest of the team was and where a ward might be as a result. But instead, we're going to see them just teleporting in to defend the top tier 1, which might leave them actually back in the Dire Sphere of Influence. Fat Control surely has been seen now. I'm not sure. I haven't got Fog turned on for UNSW, but okay, now the trains are going to out in Fat Control, charges out of the trees, going after Shibusi Grapes. This is vulnerability, pops the BKB, immediately gets eaten, but 554 is there, able to bail him out with that Winter's Curse onto the Pudge, and that traps the Pudge in place for long enough, for too long, goes down as support arrives for both teams. G goes forward on the Death Prophet, almost dies, great snowball out by Psycho, really heads up stuff, even had the Ghost running for a while, gets a bit of a tip out of the enemy Nature's Prophet for that work there must have been one hit point on that DP, and that fight was about to be a complete disaster, but now with the Exorcism still running, we're able to go back in, and Shibusi Grapes ends up going down. So Andros on the back of the fight also cleaning up. Remember, this is a core silencer. He has a 4-star already, but even just the sheer weight of levels on this man, the stack growth's pretty decent. Solid itemization as well, able to clean up. Just to, you know, they can only dump so many spells into your cores, and after chunking through the chunky Pudge and then the Death Prophet, who obviously didn't even die, there's not a lot of firepower left, and Andros is able to arrive exactly as he is needed, like all great wizards, and finish off a couple of extra heroes, add to that stack of plundered intelligence, the Brain Thief, up to 18 stacks. Not exactly sure who has had all of their intelligence depleted, but we've got some anemic-looking mana pools over here. Mana boots already in evidence. Ooh, 363 mana available for the Night Stalker. That is enough to do his power, but only just. Hero may need to look into investing in some more items, maybe a Soul Ring or something at some point. Does have the 20 stacks of Wand, though, for now. That'll do him. G just takes the Haste Rune straight up, not leaving it for the mid laner. There is no Exorcism for a full minute, so that might have just been one of those, no, I'm not coming up there, you take it, sort of things. They might still look to make a play, though. We got Psycho. Okay, three Radiant Heroes are smoked up. No Dire Heroes saw this happening. Little bit of lag. But, of course, this is all above board, and we unpause just in time to watch Hero catch a gank. Dire, they have a ward watching the Radiant triangle, but the Radiant haven't been playing in their triangle. On the other hand, the instant that Hero steps into there, he is destroyed, and the only consolation he'll get is that his Hand of Midas is still on cooldown, so not losing any of that precious Midas efficiency. But they have to know now that their triangle is not safe. That was a hugely confident smoke gank, not to mention Blink reveal, I believe, for Psycho on the Tusk. And there's another one in case you missed it. Shizio gets blinked on. Of course, that's a much tankier hero. Throws down the Split Earth, though, and just kind of whiffs it. So definitely got him spooked. Hefferfalump, does have his own Blink Dagger, so the support's kind of matching each other. Both needed that crucial item. Both have it. But Hefferfalump catching a little tick of the Silencer Q there and not able to respond to maybe punish that aggressive move. Shizio loses a Courier. Not certain what was on that one, but yeah, it seems like right now the AUE Black boys, they just have a bit of an edge in terms of map control. They're seemingly moving wherever they would like. And as long as it's not their own triangle, which they have studiously avoided, they've been able to actually be the ones taking over the enemy side of the map, which is really something to be said, right? It's a bit of a clinic on how to play against heroes like Night Stalker and Nature's Prophet, right? If they have these heroes where they can catch you out anywhere on the map, then you just need to, you know, both be proactive so you're not just waiting to get caught, but also move as a group at all times. Don't fall back and farm the places they expect you to farm. Move as a group. Take control over an area of the map, clear that out, and then, ideally, smoke and move again. And here they'll go now. Psycho scats him out, throws out a brilliant Ice Shards, gets onto the Earthshaker, great, ideal first target, more or less. Throws in the Snowball, and it has a follow-up from the Blinking Pudge. Now also has the Ags finished. Death Prophet throws out the Exorcism, and so far there's just been nothing to match up to that teamfight power, but they can avoid the Exorcism. They catch out Dazzle on the back end. That control snaps on the Dismember onto Shibusi Grapes as that BKB comes out, and I praise the early BKB grab, but right now it always seems to be ending up that you're helping the BKB right in front of the Pudge, so it does very little for you, and this time the Wyvern was not there to bail you out. So a buyback actually by both supports, VS1 and Hefferfalump. Hefferfalump hasn't been able to execute it just yet. Now the Blink Echo, though, they walk into him as I speak. Great 3-hero combo, even manages to catch Andros with the Fissure, but it wasn't quite as explosive as you'd like. That control is just too tanky. 9 stacks of Flesh Heap, it's max leveled as well, so that is 18 bonus strength, not to mention the magic resist and the extra magic resist to the hood, and having a Dazzle around. It all adds up to just enough to keep the Pudge alive. Maybe the Dazzle being outside the initial Echo as well. You can't ask much more from Hefferfalump, but for all that, your buyback, as well as the death of your teammates, amounts to the death of the Tusk. You did get a buyback out of the Dazzle, and boy, was that buyback also needed. So great play by VS1, but yeah, a little bit unfortunate for the Dire. This has been a very close game throughout, and it remains close. But again, it seems like AUE Black, they've just got a bit of the extra momentum with them, and it's because I think they're taking the initiative themselves, right? It's not as though there's a lack of killing power on the Dire's side, but by beautifully catching out the Earthshaker at the start of that fight, by being the ones who are proactively going in and seeking their own targets before the enemy are in formation, they're taking advantage of the fact that there isn't, other than Echo Slam, that big teamfight arresting spell. There's no, oh, I'll pop Ravage, or we'll pop Stampede, and we'll pop Black Hole, and we'll all reset around that stun. We'll kind of get back in our places. If you're not running into them with your Leshrac and the Night Stalker at the front, controlling and corralling the enemy heroes, it can be hard to make a fight happen the way you want it, even, you know, with this seemingly overwhelming positional advantage of the Nature's Prophet, of the Flying Night Stalker, of these Blink Daggers. And, yeah, even these relatively tanky heroes like Leshrac can fall quite quickly. We'll have to see whether or not the further itemization allows these heroes to, you know, on the UNSW side to kind of get around these weaknesses we've been seeing so far, or maybe even just some better map vision. There's only so many smokes that the Radiant can fire off, and there are a good number of dire wards here that will catch them when they eventually are visible. But, yeah, for now, it's just a bit unfortunate. Hero bought that Midas, and at least that's been paying off in terms of, you know, raw gold, but it's certainly awkward in these fights when Hero's a little bit less strong than it could be. Not to mention the BKB on Shibusi Grapes, because the team haven't been able to form up the way they want to. The Nature's Prophet is not getting to pick his spot and teleport into the team fight safely. Seems to always be finding himself sought out by Fat Control on the Pudge, and certainly living up to the control part of his name as much as the fat part. Oh my god, what is going on with that Pudge? Is that the dismember animation that makes his flesh bubble? Ugh. Just when you thought this hero couldn't get any more disgusting, I've been momentarily mesmerized, and Andros is on a mega kill streak. Just kind of solo bolo as the Night Stalker dead in the fountain. I was hoping it would show us where that happened, but I guess just bottom lane. Andros just rocking the Witchblade. 28 stolen intelligence. These are the fruits of the fighting for the side of AUE, and it's kind of, I wouldn't have necessarily thought this would have worked out so well, but they've maybe just because they've been playing these fights well enough to get so many trading kills, and that they've been so snappy to respond, but they've been able to profit more so from this fighting than the team that is looking to make the fights happen. Night Stalker down to just 255 mana. This has to change. That's barely enough for Do His Power. Hero, buddy. You gotta invest in a soul ring or something. Very rough stuff. Question for the chat. If you lose all your mana pool, can you still activate soul ring and it gives you the mana? I feel like it would increase your mana pool temporarily, but maybe not. I can't remember that particular interaction. Been a while since that came up in a competitive level game, but not all bad for the Dire. Shizio has completed that Bloodstone. That was not a thing in the previous team fight. So they are getting these items together. But yeah, the momentum, they were, you know, you don't pick Night Stalker primarily to buy a Midas and farm the jungle. You don't pick Leshrac to hide in your own side of the map. It's they've really kind of been shut down by just Psycho's super aggressive play. Of course, Psycho, or WDK, long-time master of the Tusk. But just these blinks. This one might have been a little bit too aggressive. But that's just it, right? If you blink in and you're keen as anything, and then you realize you're in the middle of 4 heroes, your team can just not follow you in. And it takes an aggressive TP forward by Shibusi Grapes to try and make anything more of this. It might net them a whole second support kill. And it does. The AES1 not even bothering to throw out the grave. You know, could have wasted a few more seconds maybe, but, you know, what is it really? We're all friends and veterans here. You and I both know that I'm dead. But again, that's just the supports. Still a gold lead for the Radiant. There is some question though as to who wins the late game. This Death Prophet rocking a Shivas and a Yules feels pretty tanky. He definitely has plenty of room to grow. Wow, Hefferfalump kind of just sends it with the Echo Slam. Blinks forward. That was on one hero. I'm not sure that that's where you want to be with a Blink Echo Slam, but they're trying to make it work. Andros has already cleaned up hero though, and geez, Exorcism is ripping them apart. Andros does so much pure damage. Shibusi Grapes, not the tankiest carry at the best of times, and they've been completely split up here. The other two heroes already beating a retreat. That was a disaster. That's the difference between a Tusk and an Earthshaker, is that when you blink an Echo Slam just instantly, your team feels obliged to follow up. They know that even if you bail after that spell, not only are you down a hero, but you'll be spending 2 minutes running and hiding, and the sheer pressure to make something happen with this seemingly aggressive team kind of just gets to the brains of UNSW Roar. It seems like they just, that was a forced error, you would say, and now the fruits of that error is an Aegis onto Andros, the hero they did not need to be tankier, right? The weakness of this silencer is that normally, especially if it falls behind, it's very vulnerable to getting picked off. But Andros has never been behind this whole game, now rocking the Glaives of Wisdom, so having that silence as well, and upping the intelligence steal even more aggressively. Night Stalker has been able to level up and obtain a little bit more intelligence, but boy, it's looking rough finally finishes that BKB. But yeah, Andros as the highest level character on the map by some margin right now. Although actually, sorry, Shizio is matching him. Definitely in the driver's seat of these team fights. Fat Control though, out of mana. Not able to drive anything or control anything. Not even able to drive a TP scroll back to base, but that's, you know, his team are able to create enough distance. There's no control there in time. And yeah, this lack of stuns maybe coming back to bite UNSW Roar a little bit. Psycho goes up the hill. The Tumblr's Toy's not quite on target, but they do track him down. Just an absolute surplus of movement tools for the task. And this poor Wyvern, they kind of sensed after that initial back, oh, well, they'll retreat and they'll try and de-ward. We'll catch this support out, and de-warding a risky business. At the best of times, maybe regretting his cause, ran immediately to get some more creeps instead of sticking it out there with him as he does the important work of securing vision. But the Winter Wyvern will be a sacrifice. 1-4 and 9-5 for 4's been playing a pretty good game so far, but it's starting to get tough, and they're going to look to their carry. Shabusi has finished up another item. It'll be the Assault Cuirass, so getting a little bit tankier, but crucially not going to help you at all against the Glaives of the Silencer, so they will be relying on someone else to take control. But the question is, who can stand up to the damage of Andros when his team are around him, right? This damage from G and Andros just kind of comes out so quickly, and there's no real way to stop it. They don't have really, as I said, a ton of stuns, and in the case of G, it's kind of hard to do that anyway, so the lack of burst damage and the committed nature of these heroes, right? Like I said right at the start in the drafting phase, hero has to kind of stick on a target. The Nature's Prophet has to stand and deliver. The Leshrac has to run into the middle of things. These heroes are having their common weakness kind of turned back against them, and the fact that they've never really been able to cement a strong lead on net worth, and that they're up against such high, steady damage outputting heroes is kind of cracking that weakness open wider and wider as the game goes on. Will there be counterplay? I mean, they can't really build much more burst damage, and the BKBs are only going to do so much to resist the pure and physical damage output. So it's almost as though they just need to build more damage of their own. Maybe if they build more hexes. Andros thus not been far to build, thus far has not been forced to build a BKB. Bit of word salad, but maybe if they can make him do that. I mean, it really comes down to maybe you just need to blink on the Wyvern, and you just need a more clutch set of spells out of your two supports, because that's really who the pressure is on in these fights. You know, Hefferfalump tried to make a play, but you know, unfortunately for these support players, the play is hard to make, and when you don't make it, the punishment is enormous right now. Fat Control has picked up his own 9-second BKB. BKB on the way for G as well, so like every good team synchronizing their BKB timings. Andros still has the Aegis for minute 22. They're going to finally use it to push this tier 1. Down it goes, down bottom. And with the team showing on the map, you can see that Dire, they're definitely in that supine role this game. They're definitely the ones running around trying to avoid fights. Unfortunately, the mobility that they have and the vision control they have suits that just as well. Fat Control charges in after Shabusi Grapes, though. Catches him slipping in the neutrals. Hero, they're going to make a fight of this. They catch Fat Control without backup, actually. The rest of the Radiant are not here. BKB TP out will be interrupted. Was that a bash? Fat Control actually just turns. Fat Control cancelled his own TP. He kills off the Night Stalker. He hooks in Heffalump. It's a double. The Tusk is here just in time as Shizio arrives, just as they realize this guy's trying to throw hands. And they bring in the supports, but it's the supports, the Rain, who bail him out. And 554 is required to get the Nature's Prophet out of there. You can see the absolute confusion and chaos that is reigning in the UNSW camp, and I don't blame them. It's so hard to tell, right? Your initial thought is, damn, we got to get out of the way of this Pudge. Then you realize he's alone and you collapse on him. Then he turns at no hit points and fights back with his massive lifesteal, kills one of you. Then you realize he still doesn't have support, and then just as you turn to try and finish him off in trade, his team arrives. And in the retreat, the general backpedaling from that, you see not only control of your neutrals, but Andros is able to snipe another kill. 48 stolen intelligence, the extra attack range from the Grove Bow, and the extra punch of that Witchblade is all it takes to melt Winter Wyvern. Just a glaive or two is going to be lethal. And he has queued up a Hex, he has queued up a BKB, and after that, you better believe that at some point we're going to be seeing the, well, I guess at level 25, we're going to be seeing the Glaives of Wisdom bounces. There's not really much argument, I think, for taking last word mutes. Although, you know, it's pretty good against all these BKBs that the Dire are building. That when you're this far ahead as Andros, surely you give the people what they want. 48 stolen intelligence. So yeah, the item build here from Silencer is basically whatever you want. The Ron Swanson classic. I wonder whether we will see, though, that upgraded Ghost Scepter, what's it going to be called? I have to remember this at some point. The Revenant's Brooch. Right? Seems like a very good item when you're up against a hero like Nature's Prophet who wants to stand and deliver against you. Even if Shibusi Grapes catches up to you in terms of damage output, you can kind of just ghost form them and then kill them. Also a little bit of a counter to Leshrac if Eva picks up the Scepter Nihilism, right? You can continue to chunk heroes through their Ghost Scepters. And, oh no, the classic accidental partial defense of the tier 2. Hefferfalump trying to show up in advance of the team. There will be a nice Winter's Curse, but it doesn't quite spare the Earthshaker's life, so there's no great Echo Slam follow-up. That was the 1-2 punch they were looking for, and now, unfortunately, they're committed. Andros will finally go down. Beyond Godlike Streak snapped over the knees of Shizia's Leshrac. That's what happens when the Silencer doesn't have the damage backup, and Andros, who'd been so careful in his positioning, is finally punished. Now the buybacks start to come out. This is a very committed and important fight for both teams. Shizia starting to run low on resources. That control's even more sustainable than the Leshrac. Hero can't even go that close to the Pudge, but they're so far doing a decent job. They will get their Leshrac out of there. Hero's trying to duck in and around the edge of the fights, but it's hard with a range as short as the Night Stalker has. He has to watch Shibusi Grapes goes down. Tried to TP in at the back end of the fight, and that was a dieback actually, but he just lands right in front of Fat Control's Pudge, and that's an 0-10 matchup in terms of carries. Fat Control, he's even going to find Hero. I don't know whether the Midas is really making the difference here one way or the other, because you could argue that there wouldn't be much room to farm another item anyway. But just Midas and BKB, you could see how awkward that Night Stalker's team fight was. He spends the whole fight sort of just trying to briefly shadow an umbrella of silence over enemy heroes while they sort of ignore him and kill the rest of his team, kill his carry twice. And then finally, at the end of everything, he just kind of gets hunted down anyway. Great reads by Fat Control. But boy, this is brutal stuff for the Dire. They got one big dub in killing Andros, right? But you can't unsteal the 56 permanent intelligence he has drained. And you can only recoup some of the gold he has taken from you with those kills. But that could have all gone so differently, though, right? The start of the fight was already quite strong for the Dire. 554 and Hefferfalump kind of doing it by themselves. And if Hefferfalump had slightly less damage ticking on him, if this Silencer wasn't so massive, then, you know, maybe we would have seen an Echo Slam follow-up to that big Winter's Curse, and that would have bridged the gap for the cause to arrive. You could kind of see the plan coming together, but then all it takes is a tick of extra damage or slightly too aggressive a play from the Radiant that caught the Earthshaker out before they were fully ready, and the plan falls apart. Back Control, ooh, that was a nice try from the hook. As 554, you have to wonder where the ward is. This man's just crazy. He's just slinging hooks. He's been chewing on a lot of those Shibusi Grapes, and in fact, we have seen him eating Shibusi Grapes over and over. It's kind of been a major strategic downfall for the Dire, so at some point, you have to imagine Pudge is going to lose a little bit of sanity, whatever remains in that stapled together skull of his. He's building a Ghost Scepter. He's building Kaya into Ghost Scepter. Very interesting. Going to build the E-Blade upgrade himself. Back Control just kind of realizes there is a Dire hero somewhere on the map that can be killed, travels to it, kills it. Psycho holds them in place until it can happen. They high five. That's the deadly 1-2 combo that they were building to all along. And this is the essence of Pudge carry, right? Ever since that, it's not like the way his Ag Scepter enables his farm has kind of just turbocharged all of the slow buffs Ice Frog has given this hero over the years to try and make it more viable in any number of roles. And now you just see that all stacking up, the massive lifesteal and the low cooldown of Dismember, the huge damage of Rot, the big hook throws, the flesh heap activation, all of this. It combines to make one unkillable, mobile, hero-murdering threat. And, you know, in as much as Timbersaw is able to dominate the early and mid-game of a game of Dota by just threatening to kill anyone anywhere on the map at any time, Pudge kind of becomes that for the late game, even more terrifying. And you can see even an arch map control hero like a Nature's Prophet forced to respect that Mostly playing off-map, hiding in the jungle, but ooh, skirting the vision of Psycho. Intimidating, not so much because of what he himself represents in terms of killing threat, but as a herald, the Silver Surfer, did the Galactus of Fat Control. In that case, he's only heralding the taking of another Aegis of the Immortal for Andros. He died in that last team fight. Expert $56 on intelligence brain determines that dying was, the part of that plan that went wrong. Picks up a second life. That's the big brain play. Heifer for lump, dewarding, but, oh, you know that dewarding is a dangerous business. He blinks out of there just in time. Fat Control can't quite close the gap to him. But again, if you can't gank a hero, those buildings are always in the same place you found them last, and G moves right up onto the high ground, no fear at all. And why should he be afraid? Rocking BKB, Shivas, and Yules. He's so tanky. Psycho loses another courier, being a recurring problem from this game. And does have that Leshrac Shards, who's able to control the area around the tower. But the glyph, the offensive glyph, I think, keeps alive the Radiant Creeps for long enough to down the Dire's tower. And that's just a decent exorcism. Still, with their own glyph used, that's the time for the Nature's Prophet to apply the pressure down bottom. So it looks like this will be a tier 2 going back the other way. Crobless is going to show up in time to at least farm these creeps, but not enough to stop the tower going down. Can't even get the denial. So a little something going the way of Shibusi Grapes and company. But it is now somehow ballooned out to a 10,000 net worth lead for the side of AUE Black. Just a beautifully played and schemed up game of Dota, right? There haven't been that many massive mistakes from the side of UNSW Roar, and those that seemingly have cost them in the team fights have mostly been a consequence of realizing that the game is being sort of prized from their grasp, sort of one finger being worked off it at a time as, AUE strengthen their grip in turn. And so they feel like they have to do something drastic, but there are just no opportunities being given. Especially now all these heroes like Silencer and Pudge are armed with boost of travel. Silencer has a Scythe of Vise up. There's just no real way for them to, get somewhere on the map and fight that these Die heroes won't be arriving at in stronger force. And once that happens to you as a Nature's Prophet, I mean, you can see what Shibusi Grapes is reduced to just farming out the neutral creeps. Maybe this was a game to just rush a Naked Desolator. You still would have gotten bullied around in the fights by the Pudge and the DP, but maybe at least you get a kill in between. And Psycho has just been an unholy terror, right? Look how aggressive this man is playing. Charging around the map, no gem, no team behind him, no teleport scroll, no vision of any kind. Just running around, capturing outposts, dewarding wards, and the sheer possibility that a Padre Dazzle might be behind him or arrive behind him with boots. That's enough to discourage any sort of play. You could literally get teleported on at any time by Shibusi Grapes, but you know that he'd be able to snowball to a Treant or the Prophet himself. You know that he would get another couple of seconds of time bought by means of throwing out the Walrus Punch, and by that time, his team definitely will be on him, so why make the try, Pudge gonna have Boots of Travel 2 in a second. Then it'll be even more guaranteed. It really just shows you what they're prioritizing strategically. The Boots of Travel 2 is an itemization priority for Pudge over upgrading the Blink Dagger or even upgrading the F-Blade. I suppose you can't upgrade the F-Blade, but over getting another item. Doesn't need the defensive Dismember upgrade this game. Hasn't really needed to do anything much defensive other than stack health on himself. After that early game, after sort of UNSW maybe realized the trading wasn't in their favor. Oh, wow! Blink Forward and Roar manages to get Andros hitting Fat Control on the Pudge. Maybe the only hero on the map that would deal real heavy damage to him. But, oh no, Heifer for Lump blinks in. Was that a precast Dismember? Fat Control instantly catches him out. There's no Echo Slam. There is a buyback that they've already lost two, including 554, who has no buyback of his own and already used the Winter's Curse beside. Oh my god, Fat Control. What was that? Even a precast Dismember, I mean, Echo Slam is pretty fast. Was that a miss? Was that maybe an attempt to throw the Fisher out first? I'm not sure what happened, but that was a disaster for Heifer for Lump. Now Fat Control, I mean, okay, Earthshaker goes in now, better now than never, but unfortunately it's all over bar the shouting, instantly mopped up, doesn't even get any kills. The Heroes of the Radiant are just too tanky. They will bring down Psycho, finally punishing him for his many crimes, but these cores are just a little bit too strong. Even Shabusi Grapes, who might be able to out DPS G on the Nature's Prophet, has to run because Fat Control is zoning with the Pudge, this huge wall of meat, just backing down the UNSW Roar team. They lose a Rax. There's still 2 heroes in the ground without buyback for nearly a minute, or in over a minute in the case of their Night Stalker, and it's hard to see how they bounce back from this one. They're not leaving their base either on the side of AUE. They're going for a third lane of Rax, rather, having already gotten the middle before. Shizia was able to survive the first engagement. Fat Control blinks forward. He's just going to lock him down, make it certain. No, the Winter's Curse misses on the Pudge. Shizia guaranteed to die now because of this. They do get the Dazzle, but the Dazzle buys back. 554 gets killed, hits a hook. Shizia trying to get retaliation from the Afterlife, buys back, tries to round that Pudge, but Fat Control has the BKB back up. Andros is ready. They're just taking turns. One massive stacked AUE core after another, moving to the front lines, and it doesn't take long for them to heal back up. They're so tanky. They're so sustainable. Just stay in your fountain, they say, or tap out. We've got this handled. And unfortunately for UNSW fans, they are not bluffing. Fat Control whiffs on one last hook. It's sending a message. And they're continuing to fight it out. It is a playoff match. They do bring down Andros for only, I think, the 3rd time this game. 4th time. 18-4 and 15 on this answer. Good God. 88 stolen in. And he did take the last word mutes as well. Just to spite me. I wanted to see the bouncing glaives, Andros. How are you meant to fountain dive effectively now? Come on. Look at Fat Control heal up. He pops the Dismember. I think he heals more health than Shabusi Grapes has hit points. But man, that scaling Dismember absolutely making short work of the Nature's Prophet. As cool as it looked like a really great matchup in the laning phase. I don't know whether the Nature's Prophet pick was really the problem, but I think just AUE Black, they were more than prepared to shop to those early game fights in the bottom lane, and I think they caught UNSW a little off guard with how well they were able to contest the early game fights, and after that early game pressure was broken, there really was no way back in. You could see, UNSW Roar, they tried to farm, they tried to find some secondary power spike for their team, but they just couldn't get back in front. Forced to farm their own side of the map only, denied the ability to make space. It's really the signature and the only way forward for a Nature's Prophet. They eventually crumble in this 45-minute game 1. Luckily for them, it is only game 1. It is a best-of-3 playoff series, so there is a chance for them to bounce back, and they're going to have to make sure they seize it. They do not want to drop down in these playoffs way too early. You can see there the player net worth stayed pretty even throughout the game, and Shabusi Grapes certainly had the run of it, but that early BKB, the first couple of activations just went all wrong, and that's a really crucial timing for you as the Prophet. After that, you could see Andros just steadily took over the game, and the Pudge always going to be up there near the top of the net worth. Just a gold machine, and Fat Control found time to eat plenty of heroes in between the creeping. So that'll be game 1 here between UNSW Roar and AUE Black. We will be back in just a couple of minutes once the next lobby is set up to bring you more of the action here from AEL Uni League Season 2 Playoffs. Welcome back, everyone, to the AEL Uni League Dota 2 playoffs here in Season 2 of 2022. I am the Wandering Bard, and we are about to watch Game 2, just can't escape that numeral, of UNSW Roar against AUE Black. That's Adelaide University for you folks watching and cheering from home. We know that we love to rep the home schools a little bit, and of course, these two schools have had a great run so far in the season, making it to the playoffs, but now, UNSW Roar, they find themselves down a game after a tough game one. They played their hearts out. It was close for a while there, but it seemed like AUE, they got a bit of a draft edge. They managed to pick that core pudge last pick, trumping the enemy final pick Nature's Prophet. So maybe that means UNSW Roar choose a different order in the draft this time. Maybe they have a different plan as to how to reverse things. Perhaps just banning out the pudge. If it gets that deep and it looks that strong against you, could be a good idea. But certainly sure there's more in the tank, and they'll have to show it now because they are on a the elimination point for this series, and you know, for a proud team of players, it would be a shame to immediately drop a series as you get to the playoffs after working so hard all season long. It's been a great team to watch, but of course AUE Black have as well, and with veterans like Psycho or WDK on the Tuscan and Andros showing up big time there on the Silencer mid of all heroes. Great pick for the match, you know, and certainly, you know, can expect that Andros will play any hero that well. It's a tough foe to be going up against in the first round of the playoffs, no mistake. So the teams are in the lobby now, just getting ready to start Game 2. Apologies, by the way, for the camera malfunction immediately before the break. It happens sometimes that, you know, we work through it. We get through these things for the love of the Dota. You know, I'm sure all of you at home aren't here just to check up on the state of my camera and how I'm doing in the evening. No, we're here for these great teams. And, of course, the match is about to get underway. We will need to, once again, shout out our marvelous sponsors here at AEL, but yeah, we can do that momentarily, of course. We want to make sure we get the draft underway first, and it looks like WDK are going to take Dire, and UNSW Roar, they are going to take second pick. Good stuff. So we're changing things up a little bit, swapping sides, swapping pick order. Maybe these things will work out better for UNSW Roar than they did the first time around. So as we get into the draft, let's see how we're going to do. AUE Esports, they have to throw out some bans. While we're waiting for them to do that, in case they take a while, let's just go ahead and shout out the sponsors, starting with, of course, Predator Gaming, the gaming PC partner of the Uni League. They help you discover your next favorite game, as they are now providing over 100 high-quality games through Xbox Game Pass Ultimate with your new Acer and Predator Gaming Windows 11 PC. Gotta get up to Windows 11. I am far behind, but this is a package you can help catch yourself up with. And of course, the new games added all the time. There's always something new to play. And then you can play it on your AOC Monitor. They provide the best viewing experience, best-in-class stuff. They are a global leader in monitor display technology. For more than 50 years, AOC has delivered the same exceptional viewing experience to millions of loyal customers worldwide. And today, the company offers that wide selection of monitors, not only for gaming use, but also for the home and office as well. And last of all, for your sound needs, we have Rig, what it takes to win, the headset sponsor of AEL Uni League. They develop headsets that deliver superior audio to competitive gamers and streamers at all levels. So enhance your gaming experience. Join the Rig team. And I'll tell you who won't be joining the team today of anyone involved in this match. It's going to be Omni Knight, Vengeful Spirit, and Undying. Some players try out. I think that's the new chat wheel line added just today. Making sure we get that used and into service bright and early. And bright and early into the pick order will be Dazzle. We do see a Tusk ban by UNSW Raw. Bit of respect on Psycho's Tusk there. I don't mind that. The super aggressive Vengeful Spirit ban out of Adelaide Uni, that's a bit of a teaser, isn't it, right? You draft heads at home. No, that's probably an Enigma Tell? Maybe Drow Ranger. There's not that many heroes who are so fearful of swap that you would try and ban out Vengeful first phase in a meta where Vengeful Spirit really hasn't been a big pickup. So that immediately sends my mind racing. I don't know about you. We'll see if that's the case. I mean, really, it could just mean that you're going for any sort of, like, really heavy single-target ganking lineup. Something like a Bat Rider, perhaps, or a Beastmaster. But Enigma's the big one that my mind goes to. We'll see if there's an early silencer pick. No, UNSW Raw, they just grab up Enigma for themselves. They say, oh, do you want this? Is this the hero you thought you wanted? Oh, no. Oh, I'm so sorry. We seem to have first phased it already. Enigma and Earth Spirit as well. So a really confident double E pickup. But Adelaide Uni, maybe this is just all what they wanted. Maybe they were baiting their opponents into the first phase of Enigma. I mean, Enigma's been a great pick this patch, so not that hard to, justify snapping it up. Regardless, they do go with one of the expected counter picks. It was either that or Silencer, but Rubik, the Grand Magus, has been grabbed up. Maybe that's going to be probably not a VS1 here, actually. Dazzler's already been picked up, and why would you pass him out anything but that? But Psycho, WDK, does like a bit of Rubik, if I recall, so great grab for the captain there. Really is the captain's hero, right? If you want to have a game, although, Tusk was steering the ship just fine in game 1. That hero is banned, no worries. Here's another high-action, high-impact 4-position pick for you. Does have to have a bit of a lane sculpted around it, though, and especially if you're laning up against an Enigma, you do at least get to zip-zap the Force Bolt across all of the Enigmans, though, all the little summons, and it can be pretty effective there as a counter-laning tool, but in general, Rubik's a pretty greedy support, so maybe you need a bit of a less of a greedy core hero in that lane to justify it, and we'll see what that ends up being. Death Prophet also banned out now by UNSW, so they are, definitely acknowledging that what happened to them in Game 1 was some pretty irresistible force kind of stuff, and they need some help from the bans to control this explosive AUE Black squad. AUE in their turn, they ban out Faceless Void, they ban out Morphling, they remove Invoker. So, core heroes dropping like flies right now. Spectre banned by UNSW Roar. One more to go, and then we're back into the picks for the real meat of this draft. Waiting, thinking. Do you ban the Silencer as well? They banned the Wraith King, so another classic answer to heavy controlling spells like Chronosphere or Black Hole. The Wraith King can't really catch that hero out too badly, thanks to the Reincarnate, but, if you ban him out, that's one way to keep him dead. There will be no glorious return. Now they have to pick. I mean, they will get the ultimate final pick of this draft. That is what they won for themselves. They decided to take second pick. And so they're hoping that their pick, their final pick of the draft, can be something just as impactful, just as game-deciding as Fat Control's Pudge was in Game 1. But they have to get there first. They have to create a draft that can get them in the position for that last pick to get out of the line. It's not uncommon, I think, at least in my memory of this season of Uni League, for teams to have a last pick that ends up completely falling flat. And it's not just because that pick was god-awful. It's because the rest of the draft still needs to be a sound foundation for you to really put it over the top. They don't ban the Silencer, but they do take the Silencer. So that's the other major famous Enigma counter out of the pool, and it's a really nice way to back the Enigma up against the Rubik, right? The Global Silence ensures that Rubik cannot get just a clean spell steal off into a counter Black Hole, trying to control at least a little bit what WK can do to damage them. Earth Spirit will help as well, giving them a bit of a vision, but Adelaide Uni, they strike back. They pick up the Night Stalker that hero piloted so well, that was threatening to take over the game in Game 1, were it not for a bit of stout resistance out of, no less than the Silencer being played by Andros. Will UNSW match Andros and take this Silencer to the mid lane? If they do, they might have to contend with the mid Sniper. Could be a safe laner as well, but mid Sniper, definitely a fearsome pickup against a lot of heroes. If you were thinking of playing a Silencer, that seems like a nightmare matchup. Really just a hero that is sort of slow, static in its positioning, has to walk all the way up to Sniper and start throwing glaives. So, potentially a tricky matchup there. But that's a decent counter pick as well. We're starting to immediately jump into the cores, and PA being grabbed up by UNSW. They recognize several squishy supports and a squishy core and Sniper. These heroes can be exploited by the big crits of Phantom Assassin. All you have to do is avoid the Dazzle Grave landing on the target you've just Blink Strike to, and should be easy, right? We shall see. Adelaide Uni in a similar spot to where UNSW Roar were in Game 1. Kind of a consequence of going Night Stalker, really, and as good as the Night Stalker Dazzle combo is, you have to feel like without the Tusk, they may be lacking some of that control. They ban out Lena. Very nice pickup that would have been. Another very long range, very high burst kind of hero. And it does seem like UNSW would be looking for a different mid laner, because even if they'd planned on taking the Silencer to the mid lane, it feels like they probably can't afford to run that matchup against a Sniper. But what if this is all bait? What if the Sniper is safe lane and AUE pick some sort of flexible hero to sort of mix up their opponents with regards to their mid. Tiny is still in the pool after being first phase banned in game 1. The burst damage he provides seems pretty useful here in general, unless you want to go for something more drastic. Pudge is still available also. Maybe UNSW are going to go back for the Pudge. Both teams focused on the mobile mid laners right now. Quap banned out. Void Spirit banned out. Puck? Next on the list, perhaps? Storm Spirit, even? You don't want heroes that can easily get around to Enigma and disable him, especially through Black Hole. What'll it be? I can really see Pudge, safe lane, sniper mid taking off, depending on what UNSW do with their last pick to maybe make those lanes unfavorable, but there's only so much you can do, and PA, I mean, on the one hand, if PA has the item lead, you can certainly do enough damage to clear through the Pudge, but Pudge can get very tanky, and there's no real way for PA to avoid the Dismember, right? You can buy it a bit, you can buy the BKB, you can try and not get into the Pudge's zone of influence, but that Pudge is eventually going to have a BKB and a blink, and is going to get on top of you, and if you can't cover that, I mean, Silencer and Enigma do a decent job, I suppose, of guarding you against Channel Dismember, but that's not the only threat that Pudge provides. We'll have to find out. UNSW is certainly taking their time with this last ban. They know they have the time, they may as well use it, and certainly this is, you know, Game 2 and they already dropped Game 1. We're in the playoffs. You can't afford to take this pick lightly. I mean, right now, they have a lot of picks, right? This AUE draft is decidedly unfinished. They do end up banning the Pudge. Even with the counters they had, they recognize that it might have made things a little tricky. The hero might be a little strong. They ban it out. So now AUE, they have to find something else, and unluckily for them, there's not really any direct equivalent to the Pudge in terms of the level of control it provides from a carrying position. There are some rough equivalents. You could pick something like a carry Dawnbreaker, right? There are some ways you can get around this. Or you could pick something like a Beastmaster if you wanted to have that guaranteed lockdown both for Enigma and for PA. Certainly wouldn't be a terrible idea. You could mid lane that and safe lane the sniper or vice versa. But they, like I said, the ideas immediately get more awkward. They go for the Pangolier, so another choice. Definitely not a bad one either. The disarm for the PA, the constant repositioning, the ability to get on top of heroes like Silencer, most importantly the magic immunity and stuns to control a team fight. I mean, if you're not going to congregate your team fight and focus on landing, chain stuns like we saw UNSW try to do in the game 1 with their Earthshaker and Wyvern combo, you may as well pick heroes who thrive in spreading out in a team fight, minimizing the degree to which you clump up for a black hole. And despite being a melee hero, Pangolier definitely fits that description, right? Very rarely is he moving in the heart of his team. But here's a hero that can pull you right back on top of your team again. Kunkka. Not the most common sight in the Uni League, but a great final pick for UNSW Roar, and it'll have to be. Their tournament season largely depends on it. We will see how we go here. It's going to be a massive one, no doubt, folks. UNSW Roar have really staked it all on their team fighting ability here with the Silencer to back up the Enigma and the Kunkka. They should have it. And it is going to be Shizuya on the Enigma. So if my eyes are not mistaken, a mid-Enigma coming up here. Whatever they plan to do to try and negotiate its impact in the side lanes, maybe with a sniper, maybe with a Pangolier, we will never know because it's going to be mid-lane Enigma up against mid-lane Andros, Pango, and I'm not sure how that goes. It seems like the Enigma should be favored in the early levels, right? Pangolier can't just walk up and bully you with his lucky shot and shield crash like he might some laners, and the cooldowns on all his spells are pretty long in the early game, so it might just be a kind of bottling lane for Andros after he's able to kind of go even or even win the laning phase last time. Not so much. But look at that win-loss on Andros on the Pangolier. If you've seen this man play this hero before, he is a terrifying force with the Rolling Thunder and a mighty fine player of the hero besides, right? It's not all just about the ultimate with him. He gets value from all of the spells, uses every part of the Buffalo, or in this case, the Pangolin. But we'll see how we go. For AUE Black, looking to close this out 2-0, it'll be Fat Control on the Sniper after absolutely dominating in Game 1. matched only by the dominance, of course, of Andros, who will, as mentioned, be on that. Can we call it a signature Pangolier? It feels like every hero in the game is a specialty for this man, but his Pangolier is one that we have seen him crush on before. We've got Psycho on the Rubik. That one definitely is a signature pick, as it is VES1 on the Dazzle. They're really all pretty comfortable right now. And of course, G on the Night Stalker, looking to show off once again how mighty this hero can be. It all depends on their lanes though. Psycho wanders uphill trying to get a rune down and almost wanders to his death, but Hero has the Tidebringer skilled, not the X or the Torrent, and Psycho actually ends up coming back for that ward, even as the rest of his team, they actually run down Shibusi Grapes. How unfortunate. The raw power of Night Stalker, the pre-game Night, I mean, it doesn't necessarily do a ton, but it does help the Void out a little bit, and it does decrease the range of vision. There just weren't enough Radiant heroes in position to lay out the control there. Shizuya didn't want to skill a spell, wasn't in range perhaps to contribute, and that's a brutal way to lose first blood. At least it won't actually affect the laning of the PA, but it does mean there are 3 bounty runes taken by the Dire on top of that first blood bonus. I believe the first blood was taken by Andros, so he's going to basically have an immediate bottle on this Pangolier. So I was about to say that their game depends heavily on the game of Andros, right? If this hero is able to power up in the mid lane, then he will be able to be a strong right hand to the G Night Stalker, and those two together can kind of make it impossible to capitalize on the relative weakness of heroes like Rubik and Sniper, right? They again project the space where the fights are happening. They choose the battlefield, and they force you to be running away from their cause instead of collapsing onto the Dire's backline. So to have a greater than expected start on this Andros Pangolier is huge. Although it will be up against Heroes Night Stalker, direct clash between these two in the mid lane. It is going to be Shizuya on the Enigma in the top lane, so a bit of a role swap between these players, but it is to the roles that you'd expect for these heroes, so nothing too drastic in those terms. Half of a lump, going for VS1 nice and early. Everyone loves to victimize poor VS1 in the laning phase. It's just the kind of the way it is with Dazzle, I guess, and maybe a consequence of the fact that, especially laning with the Sniper, you know as a support, half your job is to make yourself the soft target, right? You want them to be throwing spells at you instead of your carry, especially now that you can't just salve your carry back up. To get that same level of lane presence, you kind of have to be tanking the spells yourself and using your own salve. So VES1 definitely with the program here. Going to be fighting back against the Enigma Silence, but there's only so much you can do. That control, trying to walk this one off, might not get far enough. Oh my goodness, that was close. VES1 just focusing on body blocking any rolling boulder, and does so effectively enough that Half of a Lump doesn't even try it, but that was a close run thing. Almost gave up a death on their own carry to match that early first blood on Shibusi Grape. Speaking of, man himself in the bottom lane. Kind of had a rough one in game 1 on the Nature's Prophet. It's always brutal as a carry when, almost without your own fault, you find yourself behind and with an inability to catch up, but that probably won't be the case this time, especially as Shizuya does end up completing the kill on Fat Control. Only so much this Dazzle can do against a very potent laner and Enigma and an aggressive support like Earth Spirit to protect this level 1 Sniper. You won't be level 1 forever, but for now they are making hay while the sun shines, and I suppose at nighttime, that's when the Night Stalker makes his hay, or whatever it is he's out for. But we still got plenty of time yet. Night Stalker at least is farming. As are both mid laners, but Hero actually kind of getting the better of it, as you'd expect from this powerful Conquer laner, and he is chunking away at Andros' hit points. Nothing really Andros can possibly do about that. Try and juke the Tidebringer, but Hero, maybe he's not so washed up just yet. Despite all claims, not having any trouble landing those big Conquer cleaves, keeping Andros' early bottle empty. Might be relying on a teleport from one of the supports soon, as that damage just pours out of the Conquer, but it's unclear who that would be. Maybe WDK, but he is desperately trying to get some... He's trying to deny pulls to the Radiant, I guess, more than anything. Leads the creeps on a bit of a merry dance. It's all he can do, right? We're real defensive posture laning out of the Dire here. That's what you get On the one side, they've got a weak carry in the sniper. On the other side, they have a weak support in the Rubik. They have to do this. They have to make this work, but they do trust their team will bring it back, or they trust players like VES1 to just make the big individual moves. He's able to catch Hefferfalump. You expect the Earth Spirit to be holding it down outside of the lane, but the way that Poison Touch works, you just can't go 1v1 with the Dazzle if you don't have the power to kill him on your own, and Earth Spirit's always been a kill him in groups kind of hero, so he ends up being victimized by VES1. That's the master level Dazzle play coming out. Great stuff, and it does have an impact on the laning phase, although the initial impact is just that Hefferfalump gets to come back to lane with full mana and resources and fire off a salvo at fat control, but they turn VES1 back in with the healing touch, putting himself in extreme danger in the crit wave, even dying, but if it's a double kill for the sniper, how bad can it be? Shizuya kind of got lost there. I'm going to assume he had a teleport scroll. I don't know whether he assumed he was envisioned of the sniper or was already dead or what happened. He made no move. Maybe he was expecting the sniper to throw the shrapnel at the lower trees or something, but in that case, maybe you just fire off the TP scroll, but I guess we'll call that sort of a low-effort juke. You don't want to waste the TP. Nothing is worth in having to make the walk of shame back, but you try and make the low percentage play, and if that doesn't come off, then at least you didn't squander, another 30 seconds of your laning phase. So, nice attempt at least by Shizuya to get something done. It just looked a little bit funny in the moment. Andros and Hero, though, still trading blows. Now both getting quite low. Andros at least giving as good as he gets with that shield crash, and once again, Psycho always on time for this rune support, always showing up to make sure that Andros, as though he needed any help in the laning phase, has that help on hand. And again, I mean, the punishment is indirect, right? She is being forced to lurk outside the lane. 554 is able to get that pull off, maybe even get a pull through here, although there isn't a camp. And we're going to see the teleport to mid lane, but danger has already struck for Andros. Hero is able to get the kill. And now Psycho will be punished. 554 arriving. Extra reinforcements, but that was actually a gank initiated, it seems, by Hefferfalump, who does the Earth Spirit thing, moves to mid lane, and cracks down on that Pangolier before he can get the Rolling Thunder online. Brutal stuff, and now he's going to miss those 6-minute runes, so that's one way to control the runes for your laner, is to just kill the enemy mid. And with the ward up, there's no trouble for Kunkka getting to the rune first. Great, impactful rotation out of the side of UNSW Roar. And after a game one where they really struggled, even in the early game, to kind of take that initiative on the map and be the ones dictating where the play happened, this is a promising start for them. Now, Hefferfalump looking to make another play. They see the pull through from the Dire happening, but VES1 not even going to attempt to follow up on those creeps. That's just to distract the Radiant while the Sniper tries to farm under tower. VES1 again putting himself in the way of the gank. There will be no escape this time. No Graves Guild, and Hero is here on the Conquer. They have to bite back on the Dazzle. They don't have the teleport rotation from anyone, I think. Maybe Andros teleported back to lane 2 recently. That's right, 26 seconds of cooldown. They actually get Hero's Courier. The Conquer, he was able to leave, but he was not microing his Courier, and it flew into the tower, I think. That's crucial. That had his phase, or most of his phase boots on it. And it'll be another minute and a half before he can realistically get his hands on those. Small things, but they add up sometimes in Dota. And for what looked like kind of a, eat the whole cake kind of rotation for the Conquer with just a Dazzle buyback, they turn it around. Shibusi Grapes now getting tower dived, and once again on the opposite side of the map, a tower diving core is made to think better of it. And his supports may pay the price, but Andros is here. He does have the Rolling Thunder. He's going to maybe get Psycho out. The Rock is right there to bounce off. It's a short Rolling Thunder, but it will claim the life of Hefferfalump, and it will buy the life of the Rubik. It's just to support Silence, so that Glaive doesn't do enough damage, and 554 couldn't stick, even if he had the charges to get the mana to cast something more substantial. Andros going to tower dive again. Does catch the Silence. Oh no, he did. He catches the last word before he gets out of there. Shibusi Grapes hungering for a kill, but no coup de grace makes it difficult. He's short on damage, and now G comes back in. He was too greedy. Stomach bigger than his mouth. And unfortunately, when you don't have that coup de grace, you gotta be real keen to be chasing as that PA Andros turns, shield crashes, Void comes in from the Night Stalker. I mean, you could argue that if they wanted him, they could have dived him back under the tower anyway, so maybe that was just all he had to do, throw himself into that last-ditch offense, but it ends up looking rough, and the minor gold lead that had been built up on the side of UNSW Roar slides back the way of the Dire. Once again, they just need to sort out their tempo. They just need to figure out when their heroes are all really ready to fight, right? Like Shizuya rushing that Wraith Pact. That's probably a good time. Don't want to fight before then. He doesn't even have Black Hole skilled, which is unusual. I feel like so many Enigmas nowadays just take that Black Hole point because you can find a solo hero Black Hole somewhere on the map, but they are committed to this farm. They know their Conquer needs time to get ready anyway. Their PA definitely needs time to get ready. They want their supports to have their ultimates. There's no need to start preparing for large-scale clashes yet. So the Enigma may as well continue to build towards farming that Wraith Pact as soon as possible. And 554, ooh, the smoke ain't going to break onto Psycho there. It was just a 2-hero smoke through their own jungle. Maybe trying to make sure they don't get picked off if there's any wards around. But 554... after breaking the smoke, dips back in for the bounty rune, and they have a lump to bail him out from G on the Night Stalker. He's not the one waiting around for his ultimate, either is Psycho. They're just in there. But Hero has the haste rune bottle on Conquer. Psycho gonna regret this D-ward, I feel like. X back into the ship combo. No possible hope of escape. Tries to cliff the enemy hero, but they can't even get that done, unfortunately. It's a lot harder these days, and Psycho will eventually fall. No real trade, apart from the time of the 3 heroes, which is meaningful because that's time not spent defending the top tier 1 from Shizuya. You're going to get some real significant progress on that before anyone can arrive. It'll be Andros coming up to the trees to clean this up, and actually 3 Dire heroes here, so they want this Enigma, but I mean, their only form of control is the Assassinate, and as soon as those multiple heroes share top, they're ready to like, right, well, if you teleported to defend that tower, how many of you possibly can teleport to defend this one? The mid tower doesn't even have enough health really to be worth teleporting to, so that goes down. And Fat Control, if that was the sincere chat wheel, it seems like maybe I'm sorry for alerting that Enigma player to just how bad the situation was. That Assassinate cast, certainly a sign that you should probably be getting out of there. But hey, they've taken back control of the top side of the map, and it looks even like they might be prepared to try and push it out in their own right. Shizuya, of course, just kind of making the triangle his own. He's going to stack his own ancient camp there and go back to clear off the tower, but continues working towards that Wraith Pact, and that's a great start, right? Trying to negate the damage output of heroes like Sniper is a good idea. You can't really stop it, but there's not that much damage out of the side of the Dire, especially if Andros isn't absolutely exploding in this game. I mean, they kind of bank on him doing that, and no surprise, right, given the frequency with which it does happen. But, you know, the Pangolier doesn't even have this Diffusal Blade up yet, so you can't really rely on him to do a ton of damage, and when you have to fight your way through that Wraith Pact as well, the sort of narrow damage lead that your Sniper usually kind of plays with, right? You kind of, to some degree, have to just assume you'll kill them before they can get on top of you and kill you. That's just not going to be a thing. VES1 caught out again. Of course, he always tries to put his own body in the way, but that time there are just too many heroes, and, you know, he can at least say he tanked the gank, but he is ganked. And now this tier 1 tower looks like being a fellow casualty. Andros disarming the whole squad of Eidolons until they time out. Nice little bit of TD there. They try and make the play. Andros is very ready. He rolls out of the initial stun. He turns and shield crashes. He fires off the Rolling Thunder. There's nothing here to bounce off, though. He's just looking for more heroes. Maybe trusting the rest of his squad to follow up. Shizuya, beautiful ankle breaker. Just kind of schmoves around Andros. So there will be no kill on the Enigma. Although, actually, wait, Shizuya, he can't get far enough. G just runs him down. They don't have the support. I kind of just assumed that the Conquer would be teleporting to this fight, but it looks like he may not have had a scroll. Or maybe he just TP'd a little too slow and a little too far back, so they're actually able to just tower dive the Enigma. Fearless, not respecting the chance of a black hole into boat sort of counterplay coming out, and they are rewarded for their bravery. Wow. Conquer and PA, of course, we're farming in the meantime. Slight gold lead actually still favors UNSW Roar, despite the 9 to 8 kill lead now favoring AUE. And Shabusi Grape says, definitely put the head down. It's time to hit creeps. At least until you have that Battle Fury. Then it's time to hit creeps harder. But eventually, it'll be time to hit heroes. And at that point, UNSW Roar, they're going to be moving out. But they just want to make sure they do not fall into the same pit as last game, where you sort of find yourself behind now and behind later. That's no way to be playing Dota. That's the kind of thing that really crushes the spirits. So now, it's up to Hero to make things happen on the map, and a little bit of able assistance from Hefferfalump, kicking those rocks around. Andros, though, kind of tanky, even without the shield crash buff up, just by dint of levels. And those 2 spell combos alone, not enough. They are enough to make the Dire themselves think twice about a fight. Andros going to have to retreat to base. So, space created. Rubik's actually... Oh, that's the stolen X. I was about to say Psycho, getting a little bit of utility there. Classic Rubik play. You have to imagine he was probably trying to steal something a bit more substantial out of Hero, but, when you get the X, you use the X. And they've identified where Fat Control is farming. I think this Radiant Ward on the high ground may have had a glimpse of him going down there, or maybe just saw him step on the low ground. Actually, sorry, they, Yeah, no, that was a Radiant circle drawn, right? Maybe it was the Rubik drawing the circle, my mistake. Either way, they're not really stepping to Fat Control right now. Shibusi Grapes, though, maybe that was the I want to farm this area circle. But there is a sniper there, and I can't. Because I am just a weak little birthday boy. At least until you get another couple of items, you are. And the Dire maybe thought about ganking the PA, but instead they're going to go for a tier 1 tower, maybe even doing more economic damage to the PA in the process, and just killing him outright. They'll get a Hefferfalump into the bargain. They want a second support, and they'll easily get it. Andros just slaying him. Actually, it's Fat Control stealing the kills, and they found the Enigma. Andros, how did he get all the way up there? Is that a blink reveal? No, he just did a classic rolling thunder jump all the way up the hill. They catch Shizia, thought he was in a conservative position, well back from the tier 1 on the high ground, but that was all just a deception. The tier 1 evaporates like the air, as do the heroes in front of him, and Andros... This is kind of just the classic play by a team who are both confident and often just a step ahead of their opponents, is to just proactively charge forward. G diving that tier 1 tower to kill the Enigma. In that case, it was Andros diving. And once again, Shizia just doesn't expect them to be bold enough to take that next step. And he finds that when they do, there's actually nothing stopping them from getting the kill. He does have that newly finished Wraith Pact, but that's much more of a my team's around me item. And there was no team for him there, unfortunately. So... by once again just demanding the initiative, AUE Black have taken it. They assert themselves on this game. And Fat Control, as always, somehow behind this intimidating front line of Andros and co, is able to rack up kill after kill. Still slightly behind the Conqueror on net worth, but only just, and Andros is considerably ahead of the other 2 cores for the Radiant. So you can see why there's an overall gold lead, albeit a modest 2k for the side of AUE. And oh my goodness, Hero, it's not an Invisirant. He's got a Shadow Blade. He's committed to this kind of ganking play. He tries to set up on Fat Control. There is a Dazzle behind him. There's a Global Silence out, though, and a Hefferfalump spell set, but they don't quite kill Fat Control in time. The Grave does come down. They stack the silences a little. Brutal stuff. Hefferfalump actually had the Dazzle controlled already when the Global came through, and so there's no Global here to stop either the Grave or the spells coming out from G and Andros, so they end up completely reversing that gank. It's almost hard to blame UNSW Roar. That's a hard thing to coordinate, especially from across the map. You definitely don't want to miss the silence and let the Grave come out, but... you really need to be maximizing every inch of control. Shizia still hasn't Black Hold, refuses to use it on Andros, even with the Eidolons hitting from the high ground there. I mean, maybe you wouldn't have gotten the kill, but it would have been close. He does at least succeed in discouraging Andros, as much due to that big spooky skull following the Enigma around as anything else. But Andros, he's happy to come back later. In the meantime, his team take top tower. Fat Control, far and away the most fun here on the map now. Going to move up into the Radiant Triangle, get it covered in wards. Going to steal this little Ancient stack that we saw the Enigma actually make many minutes ago. Hasn't been able to get back there since then, and you can see how the farm has massively dropped off from that time. Just like last game, everything's kind of going well until UNSW try to make a play, and as soon as they do, it gets responded to so convincingly, they just can't quite out-execute AUE Black. And having realized that now, they're in this awful spot where they've fallen behind. Their PA is still trying to finish this Battle Fury somehow, just hasn't been able to get enough space. And so you're not really able to consider yourselves keeping up in farm, you have to do something to break the equilibrium, and then every time you do, you just get punished, kind of counter hit in a fighting game sense, by the Dire. It's brutal stuff. Hefferfalump moving around fully in vision of Psycho's Rubik. They are going to get the deal. Psycho wants to do something about it. He has the Blink Dagger. He has a Spell Steal. But his team are not really in position, and the Radiant are. So he is disciplined. He does not reveal himself. At least the Radiant will get most of their triangle back, but they miss this sneaky little lobs here. So if you go to try and defend your tier 2 top, or even if the Enigma tries to defend the tier 2 mid up here, he will be in trouble. And in fact, it may even cost Hero his life, as Andros knows there is no support waiting on the high ground, and they fearlessly collapse. When they dive for a core hero, they get the job done. And it's partially due to the super aggressive vision, even more being placed by VES1 here. That might have gotten spotted, but you can just see they're always looking for the next kill. They're always planning a step ahead of their opponents. They're like, right, you're going to stand here behind where we're attacking. We'll already have the next set of wards up, one step ahead of where you think we'll be, and then we will dive you and kill you. And that's how you roll up games of Dota real quick. Is you take a lead, and then you get 2 steps ahead of where your opponent estimates their power and your power to be, and you prove to them that actually you can be on their high ground, you can be in their base, you can be behind their tier 2. And then when you catch those heroes out, that's where you start to roll kills together, heroes start to die back, you start to be able to turn 1 tower into 2, into 3. That's been their stock in trade all season long at AUE, and it's not stopped working now. Psycho shrinks the map. Dark Ascension pop. G looking for kills. They know they caught a glimpse of the supports contesting that D ward, and they want in. G has no BKB though, so he's running into all these heroes. He's daring them to cast a black hole. There's a global silence, and that's going to make sure that G dies for nothing. Hefferful up in some trouble. Great black hole! Finds the Rubik and the sniper. Triple kill for Heroes Conquer. Andros is too late to the fight to stop it. They thought that they had them there, and they find a loophole. For once, AUE are the ones caught flat-footed. They are the ones out executed. Andros trying to slide away with the roll up, but you can't slide away from X marks the spot. He will mark the grave of the team. 5-0. Put that one on the highlight reel. Whoever cuts it for Twitter usually does a good job, but make sure, even if they go down, UNSW deserve applause for that. The G Night Stalker was so keen. His team was so far behind him, and this time, he doesn't have the supporting cast. He doesn't have the Tusk. WDK, despite the Psycho name, he has to play it a bit more calm, and he was trying to be on the edge of that fight up on the high ground, had the ward vision. I'm not even sure if it was fully intentional from the Enigma, but he did end up catching Psycho out, and will catch Psycho out again. They tip him. They know they've got the edge. Actually, that's Andros. Sorry, Andros tips his own captain. Yeah, good job. How many more times you planning on dying today, mate? Up to 4 already. Jeez. But that was a crucial fight. Great job holding the black hole, killing the Night Stalker without it, and then with the global down, you know that you have to black hole the Rubik. Just sniffed him out. And Andros was, I was a little bit surprised by this Pangolier pick. I'm sure it was as much for the lane as for anything. But compared to some of the other heroes that have a more straightforward shot, like if you're a Storm Spirit, right, you are on that Enigma instantly. He doesn't have a BKB yet. You simply cancel the black hole as it starts, and there is no kill on that sniper, I suspect. But Andros, it just takes a little while to cast Rolling Thunder. It takes a little while to turn around and blink. And it took too long in that instance. And then, Andros just found himself feeding to boot. Now the gold lead is back in the hands of UNSW Roar. The Conquer got a triple kill in that fight. He has completed a Silver Edge. And now he's building towards a BKB. The Silver Edge is an interesting pickup, right? Like, it's just about getting the biggest possible guaranteed crit on the Tidebringer, but it's a pretty hefty investment for all that it does. The BKB is certainly crucial, but at least he's close to it. Won't have it for this fight, though. The Dire, they move in. G breaks the smoke, immediately D-wards. They're going to catch maybe just the Silencer, and that's fine, That's okay. He walks away from his team to make sure there's no additional kill happening. For all that could have happened there, they will give that up, right? And that was this expiring Dire Observer was what allowed them to get that counter kill and then immediately get a D-ward back the other way. They play a brutal vision game here on the side of AUE Black. And now they're going to punish Shibusi Grapes in the bottom lane, or are they? Andros actually is going to have all the gas in the tank that they need to get the kill. Hefferfalump wanted a shot for his core, but the rest of his team were wise. They knew that that was a dead PA. Also another hero just shy of a BKB right now. But soon, you know, you get the impression very soon they're going to have BKB on all three core heroes at the same time, and that's going to be their moment to fight. It's a bit sad to lose Shibusi right there, but you're going to lose something, right? This AUE Black team, almost like they were lashing out after that lost team fight. They know they have to assert their dominance right now. I think this lack of itemization on G is really hurting them. He's so far behind on the Night Stalker. Only 2 deaths, but I guess it's just been the aggressive play, right? They've been charging in, roaming around, trying to fight, trying to react. And as a result, he's kind of short on items. No Blink and no BKB. You saw in that last fight, it was hard for him to do his job. And maybe that sort of inspired the overcommitment. It certainly allowed him to die, right? You don't drop in that time frame if you have a BKB on the Night Stalker. And so once again, if they had a Blink or a BKB, that Night Stalker probably goes high ground there. As it is, they're forced to fall back, and their vision control over the triangle is once again lost. They're going to try and set up on the mid lane, though. They still control the bottom side of the map that the Radiant have. But Heroes pushing out the top lane, and there's enough space. The rest of them are going to be conservative in their farm. Shibusi Grape struggling a little to finish the BKB. They're not really leaving much for their PA, are they, right? Enigma cleans out the triangle. They're going to leave the next wave of Crepes, I guess, to Shibusi. Oh, there they are. We got some. Oh, they're not going to stack. No! Shibusi Grapes. The stack was failed. Oh, well. This smoke actually going to narrowly miss the PA, it looks like. They just kind of assume, perhaps, that no one's in the triangle or that it's already been farmed out. Shibusi actually ditches anyway, understands it's probably a bad idea to walk up to rejoin the team. And it's going to be, once again, Silencer tanking the gank. 554 has played a really solid game, honestly. Even the Wyvern in Game 1 was maybe the MVP for his team. Got some great spellcasts off in a difficult losing game. This time, again, just sort of reads exactly where the gank is coming from, and they're able to extract themselves. They do lose both supports again, but it could be worse. They are definitely making plays on their own terms here, and when they aren't dictating the side of battle, they're at least escaping it with most of their cores intact. Unfortunately, this means they have escaped the side of the map where Roshan is, and so one of the final puzzle pieces for the high ground push you know is coming for AUE Black falls into place. The Aegis falling into the hands of Fat Control and the Sniper, actually. Wondered if it might have been Andros, but they recognize you can't black hole twice, right? That's why he went to the trouble of banning out the Wraith King way back in the draft. So what if we just sort of temporarily enabled reincarnation on Sniper? What then? I mean, the what then is that Shibusi Grapes, hopefully now with BKB available, has the firepower to and the toughness to at least temporarily stand up in the fight and lay some smack on this Sniper. It won't take long. Especially if the fight is already kind of crumbling around a black hole, that maybe buys you time to blink in onto the Sniper's second life. Maybe you just wait for a spell to come out, you wait for the Rolling Thunder to miss, and then BAM! You commit. Would probably, I mean, you buy the Blightstone, right? I feel like you just need like any little shred of extra damage or minus something you can get right now on this pair. You're kind of just on the cusp of doing enough damage. But they'll continue to dodge fights. Not a bad idea. Sniper going for his own BKB. Psycho queuing up the 8th lens, of course, already has the maxed Arcane Supremacy, so Rubik's cast range already considerable. They wouldn't mind an 8th lens on VES1, but the Dazzle Master is going to just content himself with the hero's normal spell range. Seems to always find those graves anyway. Great positioning. Going to queue up a different mana item instead in the Lotus Orb. Maybe you can help disassemble the boots to put that together faster. And, oh yeah, Andros has already acquired 2 of the on-hit effects items. Actually going to cop his own Lotus Orbs. They're really keen on the Lotus Orbs here. Definitely want to make sure that they're removing silence as soon as possible. Getting rid of the X, also smart. Even the Earth Spirit spells. Oh my god, the sniper's exposed! He's trying to siege the low ground. Hefferfalump goes for it. They can't quite kick the sniper far enough, and so Fat Control, even being X'd near to the higher ground, is not near enough, and they will lose their Earth Spirit. It was a nice attempt, but it just sort of, the maths doesn't add up. The spell range isn't enough. And Fat Control, maybe if they kicked him straight forward, he would have landed on the higher ground. Maybe that would have been an opportunity for a BKB Black Hole. The BKB is available now for Shizia, but now they've also burned their Wraith Pack, kind of just pressed it, assuming there'd be a fight. They're holding onto their Global, but they won't hold onto their Tier 3 tower. Shibusi Grapes, menaced by Andros. Menaced also by G. They did run out the Dark Ascension, though. Nightstalker at least has the Blink available, but his movement will be limited, and without that mobility tool, I think maybe they want to fall back from this high ground. I'm not sure. Maybe not all the way. Fat Control does have 2 minutes on the Aegis. A little bit of wiggle room in their timing. They definitely want to try and finish a Rax while this Aegis is up, but it just might not be their time. They might simply be satisfied to fall back, ward up this part of the map, try and bottle the Radiant in their base, prevent any further development of this PA, and, I don't know, wait for either the next Aegis or for UNSW Roar to give them an opportunity. Shibusi, though, senses that the pressure's off a little bit, bravely walks back out on the map. It's black for the Radiant right now. They have this one ward up here, and basically nothing else, so only ducks out to take the one neutral camp. At least he isn't killed for it. Advancing towards the Desolator. Should have it by the time the next fight happens, since it does look like this is going to end up being a bit of a farming Aegis. They got the Tier 3, and that's enough. You know, Fat Control satisfied to just crack open the tough exterior of the Radiant base. It'll be easier for them to surge up the high ground next time. But UNSW Roar, they're moving in a pack right now. They understand, just as AUE did last game, how to play this one. Oh, Andros, he's found something, and they found Shibusi! He was so conservative before, but now he's walked up the mid lane, although no immediate follow-up, the Nightstalker's not there, and Shibusi's able to crack off the BKB. Andros was very, very fractionally out of time with that second bounce from the Rolling Thunder. There was just enough of a window to get the BKB off, and so instead of killing Shibusi Grapes immediately, they'll have to go for the supports. G's able to finish off 554 as Heffalump gets control in the back line, but again, it'll just be the supports, plus that BKB charge. Global Silence was used, Black Hole still being held up. This is going to be their high ground opportunity. Aegis is down in 20 seconds, but it'll probably be enough. And even if it wasn't, you can see that the advantage is still fairly in the Dire's favor. They're kind of betting it all on one huge Black Hole defense right now. They stick out the Conquer. Hero's got the X on him. He's able to absorb a lot of firepower and go all the way back to base, but no real huge cooldowns or anything like that. It's going to cost him just as much time in terms of getting back to base and healing himself back up. The Aegis expires, as does the Wraith Pact. Psycho has Blink Strike available right now. Shibusi Grapes again walks forward. Very brave of him. I don't think the BKB is available right now. He just dies. No buyback available. Why is your one position PA the one clearing those creeps? Not the BKB having Conquer. It's all a shambles now. This could just be the game right here. This is certainly looks like the opportunity they were waiting for. They strike back though and kill Hero on the Night Stalker. They still haven't used the Black Hole. We've seen about one Black Hole all game, but it was a good one. Shiza, you're real conservative with this ultimate. He knows that's the only big thing that the Dire respect right now. That's the stop sign for this base push. Fat Control is chipping away from the low ground, which is part of what inspired some of these reckless moves. But Shibusi Grapes, I'm not sure if there was a plan there to bail him out or not, but with no BKB cooldown and no buyback, that's massively risky to stick yourself out there. You know they're waiting to pounce. Wraith Pact is used again, kind of just as a deterrent, the big floating skull. They walk it forward. It's going to feed 100 gold to Sniper. I'm not really certain of the idea behind walking that forward. Like, you theoretically shield the creep wave, but they just snipe it to death. At least use it in a team fight, surely, where there's a little bit more going on. Fat Control certainly appreciates the donation. 20,000 net worth on the Sniper. 17,000 on the Conquer for comparison. 14,000 on the Pangolier, 13,000 on the PA, 11,000 on the Enigma. So the gold is kind of still seesawing back and forth. The gold lead is mostly on the Sniper and the Rubik, if you're acting sort of to compare the positions. They do find VES1 up top. He'll survive for a little while thanks to a Ghost Scepter that he's picked up. But eventually Shibusi Grapes will get the kill. Is that the first kill of the game? Second kill of the game for the Phantom Assassin. Shibusi trying to turn things around. Seems to finally have purchased the Desolator. Still does not have buyback. Refuses to have buyback. Understandable in some ways, but whew, it's going to be sweat-inducing. They actually catch Andros. Conker unleashing. Hero's going to die. Wait, no! Fat Control couldn't get that last attack off. Oh, Psycho finds him. He walks back up onto a Dire Ward. Nearly escaped that one. It looked almost like Fat Control had switched targets. I thought that Assassinate might have been onto someone else, but no. Still, they kill Andros on the Pangolier. That's a big get. Conker does not have buyback. No one has buyback on the Radiant. They're all just committed. I guess if your carrier doesn't have buyback, you may as well all buy out. And with the help of that Assault Cuirass and the Titan Sliver, they're able to bring down Andros' Pangolier, which is a big scalp. But the Conker is actually worth more money right now. Minus any sort of, team behind Benham. I mean, we can just check, but yeah, you can see the Dire got more out of that one on gold and XP. And the Conker's BKB charge was used. By comparison, Andros is still yet to even buy his BKB. Which, obviously, in some ways is a bit of a disadvantage. Probably would have saved him there. But on the other hand, not using up the charges. And his team certainly don't seem to be in danger of losing this anytime soon. They continue to tough it out. They know that eventually a crack will open for them. And they have faith that they will take this final series 2-0. Shibusi Grapes, though, looking to have something to say about it. Has a Mindbreaker on top of everything else. Now is probably the time for Shibusi Grapes to go hunting for kills. Because, I mean, on the one hand, scary if you get caught, but I feel like as PA, you'd almost be better off just blurring, running onto the map, and trying to find really any hero except Night Stalker by itself. You can blow up in a few seconds with a lucky crit. We'll see. They do have Global to back it up, right? Like, you assume they would want to be getting aggressive, not getting penned up in their base, but and in fact, Control kind of expects it. There's an all enemies missing kind of ping. Has Shadowblade now of his own on the Sniper. Well, remains to be seen whether any of these heroes pick up Dust. There's Dust on the Earth Spirit. No one else really seems to have it. PA doesn't. No room. Conker doesn't either. They're just trying to grab all their tier 3 neutrals, which is somewhat understandable. But yeah, they're kind of ceding crucial ground here. They had a bit of map to themselves, and they are farming with it. But Shibusi Grapes now, the next item we picked up is a Basher. It kind of feels like this is the point where you should be trying to take fights on your own terms a little bit. You have so little ground left to give. There's that idea of strategic depth, right? Which is basically, you want to be fighting as far away, both like sort of metaphorically and physically, from your enemy's win condition as possible. You do not want to take a fight where the stakes, if you lose, are they immediately run up your base and take 2 lanes of racks. You want to, and maybe be fighting at the Roshan pit, where the stakes are, well, they take Roshan, but maybe if they're banged up enough, they don't. Or they just take the Roshan and not our base. Or even better yet, you want to be taking a fight where you start in their jungle where 2 of the heroes aren't even there, and then your loss is like, well, they trade with us after we get the first kill. That was kind of the idea behind ganking Andros before on the Conqueror, I'm sure, and they just haven't been able to put together another play like that. Now they might even be too slow to stop this Roshan. They kind of know what's going on, but it just seems like they don't trust themselves to go in. They scan it, but it's way too late now. It kind of seemed like they'd been posted up there for a while, but they just couldn't make the decision to go in. Fat Control secures the second Aegis of the game. This time there's a backpacked full duration BKB for a second life, so even less hope of killing him a second time, unless you can get the first kill without using Black Hole. But that would demand some pretty funky positioning from the Dire, and probably also some checking of the inventory to realize that. Maybe the plan is then you just try and trap Andros, and you try and bring him down early on, halve their damage, but a huge test now for the side of the Radiant. At least this time it's Hero out in front clearing the crate waves with the big Tidebringer. That's half why you picked the Hero. That's the one who should be doing it. Shibusi Grapes safely back to base. Does actually have buyback this time, so we'll quickly just check that for all teams. Andros and Night Stalker are actually the ones without it for the Dire. But neither support has it on the side of the Radiant, either due to gold or cooldown or both. Interesting. And Andros really no hope to have it. So yeah, even more argument towards targeting him. But they stick Fat Control out in front. This is why he has the Aegis. He's able to move forward without fear and start laying into the buildings. The tier 3 tower is down in a second lane now. Consequences massive if they can win a team fight here. Shibusi Grapes knows this. Sitting back, blurred, thinking about diving on Fat Control, but you know that that is not a great idea. That is exactly what AUE are asking you to do. This is a staring contest. Who will blink first? Hero jumps in, cracks off a huge Tidebringer hit, almost kills Psycho instantly. The Rubik has just enough health to hang on. That could have been crucial. Fat Control! It's a massive crit from the dagger! He's caught up in the Oh my god, look at that. They pull him out so fast. Psycho with a huge toss back. That's the Rubik shard there going to work. And they yank Fat Control all the way back out of range. Hero's looking for the play. He goes all the way forward. He is X'd up. He can't activate his X. He's pulled back just in time. It looks like he'll survive. There's dots on him from the Poison Touch, but he's strong enough to survive without even burning his BKB. That was a close run thing, though. Almost couldn't use his own X due to all the crowd control. Hefferfalump kind of goes forward to screen for him. Whether or not that was necessary, we'll never know, but he does sacrifice himself for the attempt. Shibusi Grapes gets hexed up a little bit, but he's able to pop the BKB. He's chasing Andros. He really wants that kill. He gets on a VES1 instead. Nice moves. Just as the Grave comes out onto Andros and is committed. Now he's committed though on the PA though. Nowhere to run. No more BKB. Can't kill Andros. Can't find the sniper. The sniper does go down though. I'm not sure what actually killed him off there. Maybe there was a dagger or something. Actually, it was probably Hero. He's firing off those big X mark crits. They are taking chunks out of the health of the Dire. The damage is not quite high enough. And they have lost the range racks, but the melee barrack still stands. And without their Dazzle, there is at least a temporary regrouping. They have also lost the Aegis. It's sort of a hold. Costly though, for the side of UNSW. Hard to really call it a win. It's not as bad a loss as you could have taken. Just some awkward stuff, you know. On the one hand, you can understand why Shibusi Grapes feels the pressure. You have to go in there. You have to take advantage of the cooldowns. You can't just let them reset. But the Conquer wasn't in a position to follow up. If both cores had committed at the same time, maybe the PA is able to get out alive. And what a great win that would have been. At least they spare her buyback. But the sniper has now delivered an MKB. I don't know if he had that last fight. He does have it now. They go in. Hefferfalump. They find the airball black hole. The small stuff. They were able to get Fat Control out of the way. What did they stole the black hole as well? There was no follow-up spell. No Midnight Pulse. No Enigma summons. They probably know as well. Shizia falls. He buys back. He's already used everything. Even the Wraith Pact. Psycho is lurking. Blink Black Hole available. No, it's not. He's cut in half by Hero's Tidebringer. Can Hero survive? Can he get away? He's trading with the sniper. They act now in tandem. Shibusi Grapes gets out of the great base and breaks out with a triple kill. He's been waiting all game, all series for that crit. He carves up Andros and Fat Control, his twin tormentors, and finally gets some stacks, some notches on that Desolator. Hero and Shibusi Grapes, they were finally able to both bring their heroes out at the same time. It was a hectic fight, but even then, the Rubik was kind of baited. You have that black hole stolen, you feel like you have to stand around, but he's always in range of that Tidebringer. Hero just keeps finding him, and the black hole kind of baited the sniper into feeling like he was safe. They got all caught up and overcommitted in that messy way that you often do in late game team fights, where every hero is buying back, and the walls of the enemy's base end up being, you know, just enough terrain disadvantage for you to find a way to lose a fight. And look how much the base is dying here. They're not buying back. I mean, the Rax advantage is now somehow in favor of the Radiant. Still a gold lead to the Dire, and they hang on to their buyback advantage as well. Let's check the buybacks here. I mean, I say a buyback advantage, but remember, Shibusi Grapes didn't buy back. And Hero has played so tightly on this Conquer, so confidently. Really, really tight stuff. Great blinks, great X plays. The Tidebringer crits are starting to add up, and they're only going to get worse, right? There's not really even many that much in terms of damage on the Conquer. And actually, he's prioritizing a Hex. Really wanting to make sure you can control that sniper, I think. The damage out of it is just too big right now to rely on one-shotting enemies, but, oh, finding the Penta-Edge Sword, not always the greatest neutral item, but two great carries of it in this game. I wonder who's going to pick it up first. But yeah, going to go for that control. I'm a little bit surprised. The crits are hitting so hard right now. Against the sniper, you know, Fat Control's not really going to beef up that much more. He has bought a Satanic, but this is kind of the extent of it for him. Havoc Hammer found. Kunkka completes the Hex. No buyback available. Did he also buy something else? That was a lot of gold. I mean, Hex is just really expensive. Everyone finding their tier 4 neutrals. Everyone getting prepared. Andros, though, and the Knights... Andros and G. Kind of the story of how this game hasn't ended thus far. They've really fallen off in their farm. This constant pressure they've been trying to apply, they haven't yet found the win. Actually, Andros gets exploded by Shibuya Grapes. Just kind of wandered into the mid lane, and unfortunately found all of the Radiant heroes moving up, and now they are not stopping. Although Shibuya Grapes maybe should have. Fat Control's damage is so huge. He kills the PA as she walks towards him, and now they're going to retaliate. Hefferfalump also dies. It's just having that ward went down for the Dire so well, just perfect spot to find the vision. You assume that when you know, move up into the enemy high ground like that, how often have the Dire had to defend their high ground this game? Surely they can't have the ward ready. But VES1, I think it was, so quick to react, just immediately realizes vision is the priority. Able to cut off that advance and get the vision, and those headshots come cracking out, bring them that PA so fast. No way to survive it, no way to BKB through it. Maybe could have turned around and blinked back to her team, but ends up just going down, and now may have her buyback forced. Andros did buy back, so there is a win condition on both sides, theoretically, if that happens, but that's just as you thought you had the moment to kind of open up the throttle and start making aggressive plays of your own, you get sat back down by the huge damage output of Fat Control Sniper. Hero wasn't able to blink over in time to get the Hex off, I suppose. But this could be different. They're chipping away at these barrackses. One lane down. Melee barracks in the middle, probably the next target. Fight potential in the Radiant's terms, they again preserve their buyback. Everyone understands what a priority the core buybacks are in this game. PA aiming for a Morbid Mask. It's a reasonable choice, right? There's no real way to shrug off the sniper hits unless you want to buy your own, I don't know, your own Blink Dagger. You have a Shadow Blade already. Oh, sorry, you don't actually. That's one thing you could buy potentially. But it looks like it'll just be the Satanic. Then you probably hope to kill Roche if you get that Ag Scepter. It's pretty huge. But so far, the plans are sound from both teams. It just comes down to execution. Black Hole still available. Shizuya literally never casting this spell. Will never allow Andros and Co. an easy opening where it's not threatening them. He knows that's, the only thing holding back the ruthless aggression, which has been such a trademark of AUE in all their games in the Uni League here. Can they take this to a third series? Will all of that patience and cunning pay off? Hero recaptures the Dire outpost. Both teams now having that foothold on the enemy side of the map, respectively. Yeah, Hero playing forward, kind of the dual scout, but also a crucial damage dealer and control tool for his team. Such a high amount of responsibility to place on one hero. They're camped out in the pit. They're waiting for the Roche respawn, but it's kind of a long one. Can they maintain control of the pit? It's interesting, right? Like, the situation hasn't really changed. No more or fewer heroes alive. But the Radiant, they feel like they can't hang around here. They have to fall back for a moment. They have to farm out their camps. We're coming up on tier 5 neutrals now. And Andros and company, they move back in. They retake possession of their own neutrals. Andros building towards a strength blink. Also built up an Aeon disc. Not happy with how he got one shot in that last fight. Definitely not going to let it happen to him again. G's itemization is really stalled out, but he's building towards a Basher. Fat Control, by comparison, really doesn't have much room to build anything else. Oh, they go up the high ground. It looks like they found Shibuya Grapes, but have they really? They're going to get the Enigma instead. Shizuya doesn't get the black hole off. I think he blinked BKB there and then got instantly bashed. And wow, Shibuya, did he turn around there? Did the Rubik steal the X? I think he tried to get back in on that team fight because they realized that with the Enigma dead with no buyback, they don't want to give up this Aegis, but they just lose the PA as well. I guess it's a reasonable calculation, right? Because you know that they're going to go into the Roshan pit regardless of what you do. They're still contesting this pit. Hero gets thrown back in by the Rubik. BKBs, he at least is beefy enough to walk off the sniper damage. They're trying to do everything they can, but Enigma is dead for a full minute, as is the PA unless she wants to buy it back. They definitely don't. So, the fact that Hefferfalump even is still at this pit is kind of surreal to me. They will give up a third consecutive Aegis to Fat Control Sniper. Probably cursing the gods of Roshan spawns, but, I mean, my brother in Dota, you ceded control of the pit. Hefferfalump, desperately trying to find his way out of here. Rolls pretty far, but, oh, Andros! With the range talent on the queue, Hefferfalump accidentally kind of crashes that Rolling Thunder off some neutral creeps. He's leading them on a merry dance, but he will eventually go down, inevitably here. Cannot escape. Psycho with a stolen boat, even. Gets the kill. So again, the Radiant happy to delay the Roshan kill and the inevitable push with the cost of a few lives. The Dire happy to take a few extra kills and slow roll the ensuing push. No Aegis on Sniper, but he does have the Shard, the concussive grenade. Try to find where the Aegis went. Oh, sorry, the Aghanim Scepter. I guess, sorry, it was a Refresher Shard, Roshan. Refresher Shard is on Fat Control. So, no 2 BKBs on... Well, I guess he'll have 2 BKBs on his second life, potentially. As well as a refresh on the Satanic and a refresh on the Hurricane Pike. So, that's kind of interesting, because he has so many active items, but you almost don't want to use any of them on this first life now, because you want to be able to refresh them all. You want to be able to use them all on that second life, alongside the BKB. I guess the ones with short cooldowns, you may as well go ahead. Anyway, these are good problems to have, and Fat Control as a player of the caliber, I'm sure he'll have no issue juggling all of these resources. Especially when all he really has to do with his base hero is stand 1,000 meters back and right-click away. Shibusi Grapes, blurred up, looking for the opening. Has a lot of damage to deal. Gonna try and find the cheap entry with the dagger. If you can really chunk off a lot of that Fat Control's hit points, maybe you don't have to figure out such a difficult teamfight initiation as is posed to them right now. G, Dark Ascension, echoes across the map. One building goes down, they're in onto the Sniper. That first life is going to be bought pretty cheaply, it looks like. They just kind of give up on getting onto him, but they dive the backline instead. Shizia is the target for G. They bring him down. No black hole, at least for now. He is forced to buy back. The Sniper has respawned. Andros trying to control them. The black hole, it hits Fat Control, but Andros deftly avoids it, and they're able to break it up with the Rubik. Black hole is stolen again by Psycho. Somehow, how does this keep happening? They break the PA out of it, but she is broken down. G's really laying in the damage. Andros alongside him now. Shibusi Grapes buys back as well. They dive. They're looking for some sort of kills. This has to count for them now. Hefferfalump trying to kind of spend his life just to hold up the Radiant retreat, but his team are not able to get there in time to catch them in disarray, and they'll have to give up on this chase, it looks like. In fact, Hefferfalump also buys back. It's kind of a shuddering, creaking, slow loss, but it is a decisive teamfight loss for the Radiant. 3 buybacks, 4 deaths, and a dieback on the Enigma. A stolen black hole, which I believe is still held by the Rubik. No, wait, he stole the Earth Spirit spell. Maybe he died. No, he just stole the Earth Spirit spell. But, yeah, Psycho, again, getting his hands on the black hole. It almost seems like after the black hole is being cast, but obviously it's very difficult to avoid having that nicked in the middle of a fight. And, I mean, it's very tough for Shizia, right? He threw that black hole out as best he could, not only on the Sniper, but behind the Sniper, as much as was reasonably possible. And it just wasn't enough to catch Andros. This team are doing such a good job of spreading themselves out in the fights. And in the nighttime, G on this Night Stalker is just ripping through the backline heroes. Forced the Enigma to buy back in the first place to land that spell. Granted, the Sniper Aegis was crucial there, because you see that first life kind of vanished on Fat Control, and if they stack up to try and defend him from Shibusi Grapes, that's when the black hole is going to make its presence felt for real. But so far, they've not been forced to commit to a team fight without an Aegis on Fat Control Sniper. The Radiant haven't been able to find those openings and increasingly are corralled in their base, as now, I believe, no, there's one rack standing in the middle lane. They have not quite lost Mega Creeps yet. Still some sniff of hope in this game, but oh, cover your eyes and look at the wing probability graph. It's actually bouncing back towards the Radiant as they fail to lose their whole base there, which I guess is just a sign of how late the game is. And, I mean, you've got Kunkka, PA, and Enigma. 3 really big play heroes that can turn the game in an instant. I'm not surprised that the OpenAI win prediction is not, like, down on the floor of the win probability just yet. But, man, they are running out of opportunities to find that really big play. Especially if they keep... They kind of have to find them now, right? You can't just rely on a team as good as AUE Black giving you an opening when they push high ground. I know that traditionally that's always the time... But maybe you have to take the fight to them and catch them off guard. Fat Control running around without boots right now. A bottled DD taking their place. They are looking to capitalize on this DD. And maybe if they go in without an Aegis here, despite the absolutely stacked loadout on this sniper, this could be their window. Though with a butterfly now, Shabusi Grapes never going to be buying an MKB and may have a little bit of a harder time eating through the hit points. Andros finally getting to cut up that Aghanim Scepter to let him absolutely wreak havoc on these fights. Has the Rolling Thunder duration, so you know that it's going to be an extra devastating Ags when it does arrive. They see the DD popped up on the Sniper. Sniper still no boots equipped. Going for the Hurricane Pike. He's just a turret and Psycho is just here to try and fetch him out of a bad position. You can see the Kunkka's just blowing away bits of his hit points at a time. I'm not going to say they'd be doing better in this game if Hero had built like a classic full crit pub Kunkka build. But right now, you'd love to have that easy threat on the Sniper's hit points. They are bombarding him with both Tidebringer and Stifling Dagger. But it's just not enough right now. This is a Sniper armed with a Satanic. With a Butterfly. He's a beefy boy. And neither Shabusi Grapes nor Hero really has the damage items to represent any real threat to him, so they take that last barracks basically for free. Mega creeps available for the Dire. Let's see where the win probability graph is now. It starts to sink. Still plenty of room under that, realistically speaking. Crazier things have absolutely happened. But does this look like the face of mercy? I will answer for you, reader. It does not. Look at that man ruthlessly concussion grenading some harmless neutrals. Look at that giant RGB gamer cannon he is wielding. You don't expect a guy like that to give up just because his opponent's on the ropes, let alone go easy. They do not want to play a game 3. They want to go away and eat their chicken dinner together. Celebrate as a squad. Buffer the pride of Adelaide with a 2-0 win in this first playoff set and march on towards stronger opposition. But what if the stronger opposition's right in front of them? Shizia played a great series so far, especially this game on Enigma. Really been working as hard as he can to find these black holes with very little backup. Silas now with a refresher orb actually could have an opportunity to crack these fights open. Really deny Andros his influence. They have to find VES1 though on this Dazzle. He's been such a nuisance both games. You can't ban all the comfort heroes, and he has been making the difference time and again on this Dazzle. But Hero, this has been his game so far, really, out of all the players on UNSW Roar. Really stepping up, not only in the laning phase against Andros, but immediately thereafter and throughout the game, kind of being the Renaissance man. Now he is split pushing, add that to his list of duties. Trying to create some sort of threat, at least creating one lane that the Dire have to think about defending. I mean, this is a pretty substantial push. This will get the tower, you'd imagine, if there's no help. But the wave of Mega Creep spawns again, and now Hero has to fall back. Not only out of respect for a possible gank. Oh my god, the Rubik in so fast, he just kind of flings himself backwards. He was just, again, AUE are always sniffing for a way to press their advantage. They are always this controlled aggression. They're constantly up in your face, like all the best competitors are. They know exactly how strong they are. Psycho just blinking forward, just in case one of you is slipping. If that PA happened to step a little too far outside the base again to try and clear some creeps, we've seen it happen before, that would have been dead. But Shabusi Grapes, you know, Fool me once, shame on me, shame on you. Will not be fooled twice. You can't get fooled twice. Building now an MKB to help combat the sniper. Definitely a nice idea. 4th Roshan of the game. We've had 3 Roshans to take 3 lanes of Rax. There's no 4th laner Rax, but Fat Control will take that 4th Aegis anyway. Aegis and Refresher Shard. Don't they still have the... Yeah, they still have 1 Refresher Shard already on the Rubik. Andros was thinking about buying his own Aghanims, but I think it's just going to take this free one instead. They say, hey buddy, don't... Hey, we got a special deal on that. You don't have to buy it, man. Your currency's no good here. You're just figuring out how to distribute these items. And unfortunately for UNSW Roar, whatever windows they had to get out of their base. Remember, Shibuya Grace, they had that one great charge out of their base. They blew up Andros and then ran up the high ground. And one deft ward from the Dazzle and a slight overcommitment from the PA straight into the teeth of the sniper's guns put paid to all that momentum. And they're back in their box ever since up in this base. Just hoping that there's a slip on the high ground push. But instead of Shibuya Graves who gets caught slipping, Andros once again can't quite connect on the roll through. Can't quite get the chain stun off. But Shibuya, the BKB won't last forever. Fat Control is too tanky. The MKB isn't ready yet. They can't kill the sniper. He has to retreat. In fact, he's being brought low already. The sniper, being oppressed, can't finish off the PA. In fact, it's G who dies. Was trying to hold Shibuya Grapes in place, but Fat Control was out of mobility tools, it looked like. There's a gem on the deck just in the Radiant base. Shibuya Grapes is just tanky enough for thus far. They haven't been able to concentrate the damage, and usually I thought that would have taken the sacrifice of some sort of Radiant hero to hold them up. Maybe I missed some sort of Earth Spirit heroics or something on the backline, but it just seemed like the damage didn't quite come through as you would be expecting, and certainly as G was expecting, as he threw himself up onto the high ground. And so now maybe this is the opening. There's been no buyback from this Night Stalker. They are dangling, of course, it's an Aegis sniper, but still, he's just kind of hanging out there in front of his team. He tries to blink away, but he gets caught! He gets kicked back into the team by the Earth Spirit. The Rubik, though, massive range on that lift. Huge crits, though. This sniper almost certainly going to lose his first life. They find VES1. Great Ghost Scepter. They're chasing each other's backlines around. Andros is in the Rolling Thunder, though, which ironically limits his ability to bring down these supports. Heroes getting brutally clicked down. Finally, Shizia. Oh no, the opening for the Black Hole. Andros immediately cancels it with the bash. Counter Black Hole from Psycho. Andros stags off the Roshan, comes up monstrously big with a little bit of bash of luck on top. You can't Abyssal Blade that hit. It just has to come to you direct from the gods of Dota. And Andros, he's always had a bit of a divine connection. The making of Mandros indeed. And now, as a consequence of this absolutely godlike Pangolier play, Fat Control is once again exerting his influence over the last remaining Radiant structures. What can they do? Everyone's bought back. We'll just quickly check that status. But yes, all the important buybacks are down. In fact, the entire Radiant squad has bought back. All buybacks available for the Dire. A last stand effort. Fat Control still has the Aegis even. They couldn't even finish him off. It was so close, but VES1 clutched it out there, first with the Grave, then the self-save. It's all been going wrong. Shibuya Grapes has to run. That's so much damage out of this sniper. He's just standing tall as a turret. 40,000 net worth is the lead to the Dire, and surely there is no future other than war for the Radiant. Andros trying to catch him out, hoping for another bit of a lucky bash. Hero goes in, unleashing the Conquer Tidal Wave even, but Psycho has a Black Hole! It's stolen! Where's Enigma's version? He's not even waiting to counter Black Hole this time. Now, Shizio goes in. He catches Andros this time. No cancel available. The sniper actually gets trapped. He's blown up by the Tidal Wave, plus all the damage from both cores. The Black Hole was just a disable this time, but maybe that was good enough. There's gonna be consequences, though. That control's beyond godlike, and he's back alive. There's just not enough left in the tank for the Radiant. This PA blinks back onto him, but she has no control, and not even a Satanic left to save her. The headshots are too easy. He's peeping them down in the fountain now. The Rubik lift flings him back to the objective he should be focused on, but he hardly needs to. That was in the bag already. A valiant last stand, but it's too little and too late, and Adelaide Uni just grind their way to a 2-0. Unfortunately for UNSW Roar, as so often happens in a game between a good team and a great team, you keep waiting for your opponent to make a mistake. The hard plays are hard to find. It's not like they didn't go for them ever, but you always just feel like there must be a slightly better position. We just have to hold our high ground. We just have to wait until they give us a black hole. And Adelaide Uni, they're just not in the business of giving you anything. And when they do give you an opportunity, it's always being calculated. They're just not going to push without a Roshan. They're just not going to go in for a fight when they don't have Rubik ready to steal the black hole. They just know exactly what they need to put together in order to have an almost unbeatable edge in these fights. And the fact that they're all such good players on these heroes certainly doesn't hurt. Credit given where credit is due to the side of UNSW Roar, but unfortunately they just cannot find an edge in this series. There were one or two moments alone in that game where it really felt like they had something, and either by a slow Roshan respawn or a little bit of unfortunate play running up into enemy vision, they couldn't make it happen. Shabasi Graves had to work so hard there for 2 long games, playing always from behind, and unfortunately, despite some fairly decent late game fighting, there was too much to overcome. What can you say? Other than thank you to the sponsors who make the AEL Uni League a real thing that you can watch if you enjoyed that series. You better also be giving your thanks to the likes of Predator, the gaming PC partner of the AEL Uni League. Play over 100 high-quality games with their new Acer and Predator Gaming Windows 11 PC, now on offer with 1 month of Xbox Game Pass Ultimate. With new games added all the time, there's always something new to play with Predator. And of course, you can play it on your AOC Monitor for the best viewing experience, brought to you by the Monitor partner of the Uni League. That's AOC, a global leader in monitor display technology for over 50 years. They deliver an exceptional viewing experience to millions of loyal customers worldwide, like me and hopefully you. And today, the company offers that exceptional viewing experience through a wide selection of stylish monitors for the home, office, or for gaming. And of course, while we're on the topic of gaming, you can't possibly be gaming at your ultimate without Rig. They have what it takes to win. They are the headset partner of the AEL Uni League, and they develop headsets delivering superior audio for competitive gamers and streamers at all levels. So join the Rig team and enhance your gaming experience, and one day you too might be on the level of AUE Black. Credit to those guys. Shout out to them and to you for watching at home. Hope you enjoyed this. Be back next week, same time, same channel. There will be more action in these playoffs. We are not done by half a shot just yet. So be following us at twitch.tv/AELUni and twitch.tv/AELUni2, as well as following AU Esports League on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, and TikTok. That's name of website /AU Esports League. And while you're following them on Twitter, maybe if you've enjoyed this cast, give me a follow at A Wandering Bard on Twitter, talking about Dota, all the other esports work I do, fighting games, card games, lots of different stuff. Check that out. Hyped to enjoy the international and, of course, the rest of the AEL playoffs with the rest of you Australian Dota heads out there. But for now, this has been the first series of the playoffs and Water Series. There's more to come, but we'll have to join you for it next week. Have a good night.